And we're live. Nobody said anything to make me falter. Okay, well, so we have only. So this is a six-player game, and three of our six players are out this week. Two of them, it is confirmed, have COVID. The third one is somebody who has a sick family member, and so we don't know what the situation is there. But so we've decided that now normally I would just forge ahead. Three players in a level 16 game means uh, and I've run games before for three players, and they're really fun because combat goes fast, everything goes fast, but you have to be super careful about the enemies you put against the players because um, when one character goes down, or when two characters go down, it's like a real slippery slope to that TPK, and so um, in this case, because we're in a big fight at the alternative academy, and that's kind of a storyline that's pretty much going to resolve one of the characters' arcs. That is one of the missing characters. I thought we should maybe skip it for this week. So instead, we're gonna just talk about games and stuff. So um, I think people enjoy listening to people talk about games and without actually having a game playing. So let's just bring your questions into chat, and we can just talk, man. Uh, you guys want to introduce yourselves, or I don't know what the format is here. So introduce your, yeah. Go ahead, Andrew. Introduce yourself.
Hey y'all, Andrew here. Humblewood game. I've played a variety of characters that we've landed on Psy. Hopefully, if and when we finish the campaign, it's still Psy. But I'm just I'm a player only. Get to DM games here otherwise. So that's sort of the what I bring to the table. And I actually picked up D&D during quarantine. So this whole venture through Penny Dragon's been sort of like the majority of my education in tabletop gaming ever.
So allow me to say that I am surprised because right from the start, you seem to have a really good grasp of building a character, like not just an optimal character, but building a character, and you had strong ideas on how to set them up mechanically, but also with backstory and things like that. And again, I'm not going to speak ill of anybody, but some players, need a lot of help, and they just all their lives they need help with characters, and some other players, just get right in there. So where would you say you got? Do you play a lot of like computer RPGs where you build characters mechanically, or?
I didn't really start playing a lot of CRPGs either until probably maybe a year before quarantine. I got a PC that could handle some games and like a laptop, of course, and nothing like meaningful, no gaming tower, none of that, unfortunately. And even all of the stuff I do now is all through a laptop. But CRPGs. And probably before that, even I think my sort of awakening to this kind of gameplay at all was through the Fire Emblem series to Nintendo. So just party-based, low fantasy in that world, although there are some like elements that kind of break their own game. So it's kind of interesting to see how it's evolved over the years, and I'm really grateful to see how different people play games like Pathfinder or D&D as well.
Oh my god, Pathfinder, so much crunch. It's the crunchiest. It's just so much. Yeah. Well, let's just.
Sorry, third and a half edition. My bad.
Yeah. No. Pathfinder is 3.99 edition because it came after 3.5. Anyway, people forget that there was a 3.0 for like a year before 3.5 replaced it. Yeah, Ben, why don't you tell us about yourself a little bit?
Hi, I'm Ben. Sorry. I play in the worst time to something stuck in my throat. I play in the Humblewood game. I also am now playing in Tom's Candlekeep Mystery Games with Joan. More recently, we're doing that kind of like more or less monthly. It's not, and I also DM the Cloaks game on stream, which is going to be this weekend as well. It's always the same weekend as Humblewood on the Sunday, every other week. And I have been torturing my players with that for quite a while. They're in like a big stronghold with a bunch of brigands, and it's gonna, there's a lot of them. So invariably, as D&D goes, it's like one session is maybe taken up with like mostly by one combat, and so getting through one fortress is quite a lot of sessions. So yeah, especially every other week, so it takes a while to get through it.
I just realized I didn't read the ads for this week. Do you want me to get into that? That'll kill a good 5 minutes. Let's do Juan next, and then we can talk about all the other games that are happening on this amazing channel.
Yeah. How's everyone? I'm Jean. DM the Fellowship of the Fallen. Play in Humblewood. I'm the Wizard Oja. In Kennelkeep Mysteries, I'm playing Frony, the Halfling Sorcerer. What else? Oh, Sovereign Saga, I'm playing Lamut, my half-orc druid. I think that's all of them. Yeah, that should be all of them. But yeah,
you're currently married for now until playing 4 nights a week ends that for you forever.
Yeah.
Oh no, the arrangement was 4 nights a week, and that's where it stays. I'm not allowed to add any more games.
Well, some of the games aren't every week. So I think it's like 2 nights a week, because some of them are monthly, some of them are bi-weekly. Only
no. So I mean, yeah, I've got on Monday nights I've got my Pathfinder game I play in. I've got on Tuesday nights I've got Fellowship that I run. I'm running a game on Thursday for a bunch of friends, and then Fridays is the alternate streams.
Wow, you have the stamina of a porn star. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Just like, can we do that again? Yep, here we go. Don't need a fluffer.
I'm imagining that scene in Boogie Nights where it's like, they're like, oh, we got the. It's like we didn't get the money shot, and
I can go again.
I can go again, and the snap zoom on John. I mean, I can play again.
I can go again. Okay. And the cameraman's like, okay.
Dice Diggler.
Yeah. So far enjoying the D&D journey. I mean, it's been about 3 years now. Started somewhere before COVID with the home game, and then COVID happened.
Yeah. Well, I can say that I'm really enjoying playing with Penny Dragon games, but the 2 p.m. start time is really hard on me because I also work in an office. Although we've been working from home for the past couple of years, things are ramping back up such that I have to go into the office from time to time, and so I'm actually taking time off work to play. And so that's why when I initially agreed to play in some of the Thursday night games, basically the DMs are playing, I get to play as players in some of these fun, Rime of the Frost Maiden and Candlekeep and so on. I had to bow out because I can't do another 2 p.m. start, not until I'm retired anyway. But if you don't have a day job, it's great because you don't lose your evening playing a 2 p.m. game, so you can still do spousal things and go out and that sort of thing. Anyway,
yeah, I mean, the timing works nicely for me, especially with the British Standard Time, because it's 8 o'clock at night for me, or 9 o'clock when it's daylight saving.
Right, that's late for you.
Yeah, I mean, that means I run until sometimes 1 in the morning, but that's okay.
Well, the great thing about playing at home is you don't have to drive for an hour to get home after the game. You just you switch off your camera and just flop over onto the sofa where you're sleeping. So because your wife just doesn't like
because you're playing D&D 4 nights a week.
He has a cot in his office. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll read the ads for Penny Dragon Games. So Penny Dragon Games started off, I guess it's been a year and a bit, running a few games and running a few Kickstarters. And Penny Dragon Games has kind of grown so that now we have every Tuesday. It is Fellowship of the Fallen. Alternate Thursday. Is it alternate Thursdays or once a month? There's 2 different games now. There's 2 different. So there's 2 different games running on Thursdays, once a month each. So it's every other Thursday, pretty much. And I guess the idea might be to add more Thursday night games if people want to play once a month. I don't know. So we have one in Candlekeep Mysteries and another one, Rime of the Frost Maiden. Mm-hmm. Rime of the Frost Maiden comes back on the 21st of July, which is next Thursday. Mm-hmm. Alternate Fridays, alternating with this game, is the Sovereign Saga. Their next one will be next Friday. And then on Sundays, we have Cloaks of Mindhelm, run by our own Ben, who's right here, and also Violet Madness, run by Mark. Is it Mark?
Yeah, I think Mark
Yep.
does.
Yeah. And also, finally, Penny Dragon Games is on TikTok. So if you want to snap, views from a game that you're watching, and you want to push it right out to TikTok, make sure that you befriend and then at Penny Dragon Games on TikTok. I've discovered TikTok lately, and I use it a lot to push. Yeah, to look at young girls dancing, and then I'm like, how old is that?
Christopher Columbus over here discovered TikTok.
So when you first join, it kind of defaults to the ones that are the most popular, which is young girls dancing, and then eventually, as you click on stuff and like stuff, you see less and less of that, and you see more plumbers doing plumbing work, or people talking about D&D, or people doing art, or all the stuff that I'm into. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I talk a lot about some of the books that I buy and things like that. So
pretty good.
yeah. So I guess that's all the ad copy anyway. So what do we want to talk about, guys? Is there like an elephant in the room, or I mean Michaela's not here, so we could dish, So
yeah.
Also Nico.
There is technically elephants on that. I don't know what you call those long pillows.
Well, those are the waifu pillows.
Yeah, I remember just seeing it, or I don't know, did I buy it or did someone else buy it? But it was orange, which is my favorite color, and it was like orange and gray, and I was like, I gotta get it. If I see something orange, I gotta buy it, which is why I have way too many sets of nearly identical orange dice.
Yeah. Well, actually, let's talk about women in D&D, because all of the women in our group are missing today. 2 are sick, and one of them has a sick family member. And so I like running games that have men and women, specifically men and women, or people that identify as men and women in the games, because I find that you get a plurality of points of view and behavior, right? And people behave differently. What do you guys think about that? And I feel I've been lucky too with the composition of this group, because I think I just kind of joined. I just said I'd like to run a game, and people just said I'll play, whatever. And we just ended up by accident. We had 5 players, and Michaela joined, and I remember thinking 6 is going to be too many. And then she joined, and I thought, why? And I think she was like I think she's taken a step back, or she's kind of stepped back a little from responsibilities with Penny Dragon Games.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, well, I think she's like one of the Penny Dragon Games people. I guess I don't want to tell her no. So I kind of let her in, but it was. I mean, it was good. It was good.
Yeah. She got busy with the day job, and I know Richard's a better DM than me because she can only keep one on, and Michaela stayed on his hoot but left Cloaks.
Wow.
But to be fair, it was a Sunday. I think it was a more it's an awkward time. But
well, she also stopped playing D&D with her dad, because her dad had weeknight games, and it was very late, and I think he was pretty upset when she I think she was upset too that she had to stop playing, because she really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that sucks.
That's why I really crank up the family stuff with your character in the game, because I know it makes her feel bad. So
twist the knife.
You gotta twist that knife.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I do think like with anything, mix of all perspectives, identities is always, I think, going to be good. Diverse range of views and experiences. It's gonna naturally create more interesting stories. I know just in my own experience, my home game, which they will hate me forever, I'm sure, that I kind of had to leave by the wayside for a bit, because it was just streams and I was just getting busy with work. So but my most recent home game, and I need to run a one shot for them, who dubbed themselves the Dorkettes, was an all women, which has been like an interesting and was a nice dynamic, because originally, I mean, it was imperfect because obviously I'm a man, but I thought it was like a group of people. We were all friends in playing these like text-based horror murder mystery games, and I was setting up D&D games, and like just as it happened, the 4 people who DM'd me were all women, and I there was still kind of space for like 1 or 2 more people, and I was like, I mean, would people like it if it was just like a women only space, myself excluded, obviously? And they seem to like the idea because I know it's in gaming especially, it's it can be a bit like intimidating, and it was a lot of people's first game, so I think they were kind of excited at that prospect, but I was someone that applied did then. I suggested I was going to make a second game that would be mixed if people wanted it, if there was more people applying, because someone that I knew, she did get very she got quite offended at the idea of the women only game and compared me to Saudi Arabia.
They keep you in the
She was
harem,
like,
oh
I
my
lived in
God.
Saudi Arabia, and where it was like they think they're doing it to protect the women. I was like, well, thank you for comparing me to one of the worst human rights abusers in the world. For like where a game of I was like, it was just very like, yeah, it was
That's a
certainly a take.
self-report.
It was certainly a take. Yeah, like
Yeah.
Well, I can
like
tell you,
it's
I can.
D&D,
So I've run a game for all girls. I ran a Humblewood game during pandemic for Nico, my daughter Catherine, who was like 25, and then a friend of mine, Alina, and it was like it was very story based. Alina had never played D&D before, and it was
Yeah.
during the time when Alina, and she was the one who was like, "Can we try D&D? I'm bored." She's a tattoo artist, and we were like they were shut down for a whole year. She had nothing to do. And we ran this game, and the energy is very different when it's a bunch of girls. So
yeah, but definitely that role play energy is quite different, and there's like,
especially because I give off a lot of dad energy as well. So and one of the players was my daughter, so that I think that kind of lets it gives them the license to just just girl out. So
yeah, I thought what was funny in that game. Well, there was actually I had a great time doing it because I am to be honest, I also have quite a lot of feminine energy. I'm not exactly like a very masculine, manly man, but
whereas I'm very manly.
We ended up role playing like basically a dinner. We just had a dinner party. Basically, they went to see the like elder of the village, and they were invited over to her house, and we just decided to kind of play out the dinner party. And even the bard wanted to stay late, and everyone else had like retired to the inn, and the bard was wouldn't leave until like 5 a.m. But they also what I thought was funny was I played just very briefly. There was like an NPC who was a gnoll that they saved his daughter, and he had some sort of blood oath where they were about to leave to carry on the rest of their quest, and he was like, oh, I owe you a life debt. My daughter owes you a life debt, but she's not an adult, so by custom I'm her guardian. In her place, I will, I offer myself to you. Basically, the life debt being until I save your life, basically, So I was fully expecting them to be like, no, you stay with your daughter, single dad. But they were like, yeah, come on. They all thought that I wanted them to take this NPC with them. And then I ended up having to play a character for like the whole time. And I'm like, I don't want to play. Like, I liked the character. He was a Gnoll barbarian, and I was using my homebrewed Gnoll race rules. But I was like, I don't want to. I didn't want a DM PC. They brought him with them.
Wait,
which is
so
quite funny.
You actually expected the characters to do what you expect them to do?
I know. I should have. It was ridiculous. But then, of course, one of them was flirting with him. Unsurprisingly, the 7 foot tall, very broad, single dad was giving off, big daddy energy. That the rogue very much latched onto.
Okay. Well, that was well said. It took a long time for you to say it, but thank you. Do we want to, so we're getting questions in the chat. Do we want to, because I saw that, do we want to address some of the questions in the chat, or?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's always a fun one for me.
I think ZT1902 said, I want to know each of your thought processes when starting to create a character.
Yeah, I mean,
Right, Andrew, tell us, since you make so many characters. Where
I
does that
keep
come
one
from,
a
by the
week.
way? Why do you keep making characters?
I want to play more games than I'm actively playing. I think I mentioned this during our last stream, or maybe it was pre-stream, but my Saturday game just folded, unfortunately, like for indefinitely, just for reasons out of everyone's control. Times are wild, people are going through hard stuff, and obviously there's a lot of planning that takes just to start a game, let alone keep it going. So
Your hair is wild. Your hair is it's crazy with the background. Sorry.
And what about it? And what about it?
I wish I had that much hair.
Yeah, that's right. I as far as like character creation goes, I think that I always just get like a strong concept. It's sort of like a seed for the character, and then I, to be fair, I kind of do space out a lot when we play. So I like to pick a character that is fleshed out and can respond to things, but doesn't really need to be the focus. It's like whatever the opposite of a main character is at all times. That's kind of who I want to be. I want to give it the depth and like the intrigue that a main character has, but I don't necessarily want to be the person whose backstory is driving the party's plot. That's just me. I like to find more ways to maybe shift that so I am participating more actively in sharing and like feature games, but for this purpose, getting on this stream and kind of the nature of having to like be out of the games because like work is weird for me respective to the other time zones of participants and whatnot. It was just sort of convenient to say, well, I'm new to the game. I want to kind of try everything. I might as well, start with this. What is it? My first character was a fighter warlock, multi-classed, and then I realized, oh wait, Roll20 is dog shit for multi-class characters. I can't keep playing this character at these levels on this platform right now. So I'm gonna be gone a week anyway. Well, a month. Why not come back and do a bard? Like it's kind of cool fun. I gotta steal some paladin spells way earlier than the paladin will ever get them.
So that was Argus. So hang on, the fighter warlock was Argus the peacock, who had a magic book that told him stuff, and I kind of used that as a launching point for some things.
Well, yeah,
and he was a bouncer. He was a bouncer in Alderheart. Remember, I said you had like calloused feathers from boxing, from punching people. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and even with that one, that was a situation where I wanted the backstory to sort of explain like the marriage of the mechanics. It's like if he's a fighter and a warlock, this tome could have some implications for his warlock patrons, imparting like knowledge on him, and like why is he a rune knight? Why does he get these like random magics? Oh, it sort of meshes. I don't think that I would have to come back and like refabricate a lot if I wanted to replay that character for continuity purposes and maybe to fit better within like D&D lore in general or the lore of Humblewood in general. But
it was cool that you chose Kren as his warlock patron, because Kren is like the only evil god in the pantheon. In the official Humblewood material, Kren is often the villain, and Kren is an evil god, and there's evil cultists and all kind, like a lot of the stuff that they're doing in their current Kickstarter are adventures based on fighting cultists of Kren and things like that. I thought it was really interesting that you chose Kren, because I had already decided that Kren was going to be a redeemable god, and so that was interesting. Yeah, and then your next character was Colibri, the bard, hummingbird.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
Always accompanied by Francis Vodka.
Francis Vodka, the Canadian goose. Yes.
The Fey goose.
The gigantic, the horse-sized Canada goose. Yeah, it was something. Yeah.
When you want to reskin a griffin but still keep it menacing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So there's a hot tip for you GMs out there. If your paladin wants to summon a steed and wants it to be some kind of weird fucking animal, just reskin a horse, or just reskin whatever you're supposed to have. Reskinning is when you take something without changing its stats and just make it look different.
Like everybody's happy.
There's many.
Yeah. What? Sorry, what did you say?
It's like Rachel Dolezal. She's just reskinning.
Yeah. And this is a game
many
for
ways to
grown-ups,
reskin
kids.
a cat.
Yeah. And so quickly,
Oh
so that was Colibri. He didn't stick around for very long, because then you brought in Sai, the pink flamingo monk, and he's been around the longest, I think.
Yeah, he has. I think Sai is the one that I had like the least mechanical motivation, or like not mechanical, highest mechanical motivation, least narrative motivation behind. Because my thought process is, oh, we're clipping along, we're really leveling up, we're gonna end the story much sooner than we have. And so now I'm at this point where we're still several levels from max, and we're still obviously like, very enmeshed in the tension of the campaign, which is really cool. It means I get to play this character more. I just don't have a ton of substance to him, and so if you're in the audience, you see that and you're like, wow, what a 2.5 dimensional character. Like, that is 100% correct.
The high level monks are just so gross. They're just so useful in a fight, and they're so gross. Like, they have such interesting, cool powers, you know. So it's that you can let that talk for itself, you know. So,
it's a fighter but slim. Like, that's the
yeah. You can have fighter armor class without wearing any armor, you know. So,
yeah.
All right, well, Joan, why don't you talk about your character? You have a fun character in this game.
Yeah,
So talk about how you made him in the beginning, because I mean, you didn't expect it to run past the one shot, right?
yeah, I mean, it started off as a one shot, so I mean, most of the times when I do a character, I tend to start with, not thinking about, what his class will be, what his race will be, background, all those things. I just start with a story idea of, where this person, or in this case, Bird, comes from, what he did. I mean, Oja grew up as a charlatan, doing some sleight of hand work and things like that, and then went to the academy where he learned magic. And then from there, I just expand into, the stats and things like that. So, I mean, I try to write a, even if it's just like one paragraph story about this person, and then go back to the books and see what fits around that, for that specific character. And honestly, the reason I chose Illusionist, I cannot tell you, because I just thought it would be interesting, and it turned out a lot more interesting than I expected it to do. I never knew. I mean, everyone always plays, transmutation wizard or a evocation wizard. I've seen a couple of people do divination, but I mean, Andrew was talking about it earlier. I've never
divination
seen
is hard.
divination.
Yeah,
there's only like 9 divination spells across all the. It's weird. I feel like there used to be more divination magic in previous editions. Maybe it's because it's like druids had all kinds of divination stuff, and now they don't seem to. So I don't know. They've kind of stripped that out of the game. Maybe they don't want players to have spells that can force DMs to have to predict the future. I don't know what, but it's just kind of weird that there's not a lot of divination, because you have the recurring NPC for you is Professor Rivane from your school, who's like the laughable divination prof.
Yeah,
he's the astrology professor. So yeah, he's actually from the Humblewood book. Rivane is a recurring NPC in the main book.
I mean, I remember when we talked about you introducing him, and he's going to have contact with Oja, and I remember telling you, like, yeah, Oja probably skipped that class quite a lot.
You sent a duplicate to do the class,
Yeah, oh yes, there was some kind of minor illusion just of Oja sitting there pretending to pay attention.
Yeah. Just on a loop, like.
Yeah. And again, so it's like, Andrew, you were saying that you make your characters to just be kind of useful and not necessarily in the foreground, and not steal the spotlight kind of thing, or maybe not even useful. I don't know.
Increasingly in this game, yes, in this campaign, just because, like, obviously I've undergone a variety of full character shifts, not a character development shift, just a whole new scrappable and or chew-outable character. But in a couple of offline games, I've invested a little bit more urgently. Actually, even in our Discord chat, I put in like some backstory I had for a character that I wanted to build.
But I also find that I find that in a 6-player game, you have to. So if you've been DMing for a long time, that different players want to do different things. Some people want to be in the front spotlight. Some people, are happy to be support, whatever. And not all the characters can have, main protagonist energy kind of thing, right? So that's a gift to the DM, so that I don't have to really focus, because there are a few characters in this game that I feel like I spend a lot of time on, but But yeah, so speaking of characters, I spent that that have main character energy. Ben, talk about your character.
Oh, hey.
Super original origin for him too.
Oh yeah, super. Put a lot of thought into that. Yeah. Sir Arthur, the little mouse folk knight. Honestly, in general, with characters, I would say most commonly I will just get some sort of a character concept will come to me. Like in the Candlekeep Mystery game, for example, I'm playing a character who basically has, he has free will, but he has no sense of self. He was trained to be just a bodyguard that just
Oh, the Warforged Terminator. Yeah.
yeah. But the Iron Mind, and he's just because he's just a human. He's was raised as a child.
Okay, I imagine because I imagine he was actually like a robot. Okay, so he's a human, but he's a blank slate.
Yeah, you just kind of in a super, I suppose, heightened, even more extreme version of what they do in the Marines, because they even describe it as such. That's why they call it a jarhead. They're obviously there's the buzz cut, but
it's the shape of your head.
And they also say the whole idea is they scoop you out so that they can put whatever they want in. That's why they call
Well, the most successful militaries basically create an environment where your ideation becomes that of the unit or that of the
and you're not an individual. And this is a role play thing. I slip up all the time because it's so natural to just say I or me when referring to myself, but I wanted him to at least initially constantly refer to himself as this one
self.
But similarly to Sir Arthur, actually, and kind of introduction / backstory for Sir Arthur. With those two characters, there was a bit of George R.R. Martin influence, because Sir Arthur has a bit of Duncan the Tall.
He's the tiny hitch knight. Yeah.
But the Iron Mine, part of it was, and I know a lot of people don't really like the character, but for anyone who read the books, and he is in the show, but not much. The captain of the Dornish House Guard is a character called Ario Hotar, and he has a big pole axe, and he was a slave bodyguard who he was basically the Dornish lord. He married a woman from the Free Cities, and this guy was her personal bodyguard. But he's married to his axe. They are children that are bought basically, or found orphaned, and they're just raised to be bodyguards and to be soldiers. And it's they marry them to their axe, and that's it. They have their duty, and they have very little sense of self or self-preservation.
So a Dornish version of the Unsullied, which are the ones from across the water.
Yeah, they make mention of it that they're called the bearded priests in the city of Norvos, which is it's kind of
chat. That's what Solo says in the chat. Oh, Nico's in the chat. Okay, good. She is alive and able to talk.
Hi, Nico.
Hey. Yeah. But they in that city, the men aren't allowed to grow beards. Only the holy men are allowed to wear beards. So the men have developed a fashion of ridiculous mustaches to compensate for the fact that they can't have beards. So there's this this whole thing, and so I'll often have a character concept, and then it's the idea that I'll go to the mechanics and sort of think, well, yeah, much like Jean said, is how can I bring out this concept and marry the mechanics to the theme, so that it kind of makes sense. But there's always the odd time, of course, where I might just be playing, and more often than not, it will be for a one shot or a much shorter game where I think I've never played, I've never played a cleric, so I'm gonna play a cleric, and then I start looking at all the options available, and it's oh, that's a cool subclass. What might that look like? Or I want to play a Minotaur, but I don't want to play a, what you think of with a Minotaur. I don't want to have a big axe and be a barbarian or a fighter. Maybe I'll be a wizard. Or so oftentimes, I think a character, a core concept will grab me, and then I tend to then try to extrapolate and almost sort of reverse engineer something. A lot of the time, Sir Arthur, it was just, I really like mouse folk, and I like the idea of a little mouse knight, and I was like, this is my fucking chance, man. Like, you know, and I'd never played a paladin, so and it was like, yeah, paladin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you knew the setup, but I mean, were you shocked when I revealed that your master was dead in the tent, or that was kind of basic? That's basically the setup from Knight's Tale and the Hedge Knight.
I didn't know. I mean, going in, I didn't know. I mean, I'm trying to remember whether we discussed it beforehand.
Because I think Andrew, when I revealed that he was dead, Andrew, you were like, 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 oh my god, they're killing NPCs for that rolling dice, or
I think we.
He's our best boy. Like, it's like killing Jesus.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Oh, when. Oh yeah. When his master dying. I'm trying to remember whether we discussed it beforehand or not, or maybe I just assumed because we were talking about the manner in which.
I think I just said, shit's gonna happen. Just go with it. Is it okay if I really make shit happen? You're like, oh yeah, make shit happen.
Yeah. I suppose because we were basing it a lot on Duncan Egg, and because even his So
you felt like you felt that Sir Arthur's master was like Duncan and you were like Egg, or
kind of like that, because I think those novels do start with Dunk burying his master.
Oh yeah. And it's not a new story, right? I mean, Knight's Tale did the same thing.
Yeah,
I mean, this is a classic tale. This is how you become a knight from a commoner. Is you find a dead knight and you take his armor. And just, yeah. So
because even his he's Sir Arthur Pennytree, which, unless I'm misremembering it, so like Duncan the Tall, his master is I can't remember his first name, but he is Sir something of Pennytree, and it's like, it's not on any map, and Dunk's not even really sure if it's a place or did he just make it up? It's just some hedge knight, but and of course the idea of a hedge knight is very romantic,
So that in the latest book, George R. Martin gave Brienne a flashback to when she was young. Brienne is like the big strong woman character, knight. To when she was back on her home, the Emerald Isle, and the shield. His shield is there. So the hint is that he is somehow her grandfather or father or something.
I think.
Which is why she's so tall and dumb, just like him. So.
In an interview, I think outside of that, I think he had finally confirmed it, that like, yes, she is a descendant somehow. And they're very much that kind of reincarnation, where in much the same sense of like Duncan the Tall is, because it's left ambiguous as to whether he was actually knighted, so I think that he's possibly, a fraud in that sense, that he's not a true knight. He wasn't knighted, but much like Brienne, who is a woman, so she's not a true knight. But they are really the truest knights. They actually embody the romantic ideals of knighthood more than anyone else in the Seven Kingdoms at their time, But they don't have the official credentials. He wasn't. They weren't knighted.
So Nico just put in the comments, she wants me to talk about her character creation process. So before we do that, I want to talk about my character in Juan's game, Luca, the tiny halfling. I don't know why I made Luca non-binary. I think I just wanted to shake up the game a little bit. And also, I mean, I know people who are non-binary, and you can't. I mean, without being reductive, you can't imagine what people go through, right? When they're part of a minority. In this case, can be a very visible minority, and what they deal with. So I thought, let's make a character that explores that and see what happens. So if hopefully nobody gets offended when they see me play Luca, who is non-binary, where every 5 minutes I have to say, I am a they them, I am not he, I am not he, and because I'm I'm a 54-year-old bearded man with a pretty deep voice, so it's hard. People forget, even in the game, they forget that Luca is they them. And I always talk about Luca. I don't say it me, I say Luca, so Andrew, you're gonna say something?
Yeah, like even as somebody who's unfortunately not watching that game, maybe we'll get around to it. It kind of reminds me of what Sam Riegel's first character explored, obviously, like on screen in the Critical Role's second campaign, because he obviously IRL seems to identify as he him, or I think presents to him, but the character very much was she her, and the entire cast really was tripping over that for quite some time. Definitely explores like a very different issue than some of the stuff you're describing, but I really like appreciate that you are taking the time to make that something meaningful, and not just like a throwaway. That's really cool.
Yeah. But also the thing about Luca is that, so when I make a character, I don't come up with a convoluted backstory, because I want to find out, I want to play to find out, kind of like in Dungeon World. I want to find out where my character comes from, and I want to make up scenes in the past about stuff that happened that will justify things that happen in the present, to organically grow the character. But I did talk to Juan about a few things, and how Luca is obsessed with learning, must get all the books, must read, must absorb all the information, so that's
Yeah.
And of course, Luca is a rogue who became an arcane trickster, who then became a wizard. So Luca has all of the utility spells.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah,
very cool.
I mean, and now that you say that, Richard, and that's what I mean. I've talked about, almost everyone in the fellowship gave about this, because everyone's saying, so where's the character going? Where's the character going? What's the next thing that's going to happen? And I think I told you this as well. The thing with, the way I set that one up is because we went from Lost Mines to Dragon of Icefire Peak. Both are intro campaigns. So there's not a lot of flesh to them. And they are therefore setups for bigger things. So, with the books that we're going into now, there's going to be a lot more information and things like that that's going to be coming out, especially with the characters that I've got some ideas for, especially Luca's one of them. I mean, we had the session where you went and met, or Luca went and met Savras.
Yeah, a dead god, a different dead god. And Luca is obsessed with Ayun, a dead god, much in the style that Matt Mercer had Ayun being a dead god in his first campaign. And so I decided Ayun was going to be like that, and so and the god of knowledge. So always interested in getting more knowledge.
Yeah, I might make an appearance someday.
Yeah, and also I like when I make a character, I always like to pick another PC at random and make them my character's best friend, so that they know each other, so that you can. And so that's why I just picked Carrick. I was like, I'll pick the giant barbarian, because that'll be like a Fafford and the Grey Mouser kind of deal, right? I'm like the fast little thief, and so I just decided. I sent him a PM and I said, "You want to be best friends? Okay."
Yeah, I remember the campaign.
We used to do shit together back in Waterdeep. We'd rip people off or whatever,
Yeah,
so,
like the campaign never got off the ground. We just it fell apart in pre-production basically. But some friends. I think it was actually the influence of Critical Role 2, which is the first campaign that I watched, and I haven't finished it, but I was watching it at the time. But the concept of, okay, you've got a party of like maybe 5. I think it was 5 people, and I had some character ideas, and I kind of randomly said, it was like, right, well, you two are going to know each other, and you two are going to know each other, or at least have been traveling together prior to the campaign. And then it was like someone who was quite a strong role player and was not shy. I was like, well, you can be like Solo. But it does initially, like, if you don't have a very strong concept of, oh, hey, you're all the Suicide Squad, and you're all, you gotta do this mission or you're all gonna die or whatever. If you don't have that conceit of why the characters are together, it can be good to, like, well, at least a few of them are already sort of connected, so that they have reason to stick around and kind of bounce off each other, which I think it is a good tip that you can try and do that, especially if you're concerned about how am I gonna rope all these characters together. Although for a first time DM, I do think actually having some kind of a concept, like maybe the characters already know each other, or that there's some sort of player buy-in, that it's like, hey, we're all going to agree that we are all employed by some adventuring company, and there's like, we all have the same boss, or whatever it might be. Because it does help that, like, why are we all together?
I mean, that's
sticking
why,
together.
Yeah, that's why I will always be a strong advocate for a session 0. And it's a must-have, non-negotiable. There has to be a session 0, even if it is just to Richard, like we did discuss some safety rules and things like that.
For
But
sure.
just to flesh out that and okay, you're a group of 5. How do you fit together?
Yeah, and remember there was one game where we captured a dragon cultist, and he just he rolled a nat 20 on his resisting of torture or whatever, and we were just starting to torture this guy, and I was like, I don't want to be, I don't want to play a character that tortures people or that's okay with it, and so that's when I kind of went, Lucas said to the barbarian, that's enough, we're not going to torture him anymore. Okay. And I feel like the other players were looking for an out, so I thought I feel like we got off easy on that one. So
I mean, and that is another thing where as a DM, it's a very fine line to tread. Is where do you let the to what point do you let the players go, and where do you say this is the line? I mean, we had that discussion. We've mentioned it briefly on the fellowship stream. And then we discussed it quite at length after the stream when you guys first went into Leyland and you were told there were still 2 kids missing somewhere within Leyland. Yeah. And I know that's one of the the safety chats we had beforehand is
I know.
Kids
I just don't want to be killing children on the stream, and so that's why in my game, hopefully you won't be destroying any eggs, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And it's tough because with chats about safety tools and that, it's like there's always a good chance that something might get missed, that someone even themselves, they didn't know that something would make them uncomfortable until or something would trigger them in some way until it happens. Like, you can't catch everything. You can kind of cover very broad bases. It's like it's why you can't in a session 0 list out every phobia, but there's always very common ones, arachnophobia or bugs, or like there are things you can kind of cover as many bases as you can, and obviously some people can tell you if they have anything. Sometimes you don't know yourself.
Somebody in my Humblewood game doesn't like clowns, right? And so it's like there will not be any horror clowns in my game. So that's not you, is it? No, it's
no, it is me. I don't like clowns.
It's probably more than one person. I was
gonna say. No, I thought it was somebody whose name rhymes with Belinda. Yeah. So anyway,
I mean, but there's a comment, Richard. It's again saying, I really like the concept of Luca and how you celebrate them even in a male-dominated game, which I know the Fellowship game is your, and it's a model for the wrong reason. Your model D&D sausage fest. Bunch of white guys sitting
young
around.
Bearded men. Yeah.
Sorry, what's that about a sausage fest?
Calm down, Andrew.
Yeah.
Anyway. Sorry, we got to talk about Nico's character.
Oh yeah, so let's talk about Nico for a while. So I met Nico 5 or 6 years ago in Ottawa doing cosplay photography. She had a cosplay magazine which ran several issues. It was ultimately not an ongoing thing, but it was called Cause Culture. I don't know if you can still hear me talking. Hopefully you can. Like, beautifully, like if you're looking for a designer for your books and shit, Nico did this, man. She did the layout. She had them all printed, really nice, beautiful cosplay.
Great.
Oh shit! Yeah, I'm terrible at layout. I just released my first supplement, and
we can have a whole session later on about how a lot of self-published stuff has good content, but the layout is so bad you just don't want to read it. Anyway, her stuff is great. We had booths at Comic-Cons in Ottawa and in Montreal, and so she'd come over and we'd take pictures and we'd go hang out. And then she came to play Dungeon World at a small local convention that my friend Frank was running. I think she was dressed like a pirate for that too. And you could tell she really liked Dungeon World. It was good fun. And then later on, did Nico play in Patty's game? I think she played in Patty's game before I played D&D with her, or did she play D&D with me first? I think she played in Patty's game first. She played.
I'm not sure which was.
It was a game for writers who were basically would just throw in one of their main characters into a D&D game, and so she was playing that character. But the way she makes characters in my game is she makes horribly damaged, sad characters. Her best character is Do the Black Mouse. Are you listening, Nico? Type some shit. so Do the Black Mouse, spelled D-U-B-H, because all the players decided to make characters with Welsh or Celtic names. Who was and I don't know if I came up with it, or I think Nico. It's just she's an easy person to like write, to like throw tragic shit onto their characters, and she plays it well.
Sorry,
so
that is another ridiculousness. Sorry, Irish language. We're ridiculous. D-U-B-H.
Yeah.
Duv.
So Duv. Okay, so Duv the Black Mouse.
Sounds
basically
ridiculous. It's a B-H.
So Duv the Black Mouse came from Salter's Port, and he was a male character, and his wee bonny lass was murdered, and so he's just basically he played the bagpipes, and so he's decided he would not play the bagpipes again until he found her. And and then Nico says "dude" means black apparently. So I just drew this black mouse with a kilt, and the bagpipes and everything, and he was just trying to find his missing Bonnie, just
Nice.
really, really sad. And so as the game progressed, I would just introduce more and more stuff. Like every time dude would close his eyes, he would dream of Bonnie, and then Bonnie would chase him in his dreams, and he would see Bonnie, like just crazy shit.
Yeah.
And then later on, when they went into the Fey realm, and they spoke to a god or something, and the god said, "Bonnie's not here. Wherever Bonnie is, she's not in the afterworld." And it's like, Bonnie's not here. And so and then and I actually got a piece of music that I played whenever dude would think of Bonnie, or a really, really sad piece of music.
Great.
Anyway,
tragic but great.
So, so that was Do. And then after that, she made I think, did she make any other characters other than Do? No. Then she made Hobor. And then I said, "Yeah, you want to make a?" Yeah, she says, "I want to make a hedge druid." And I said, "Well, why don't you make a druid?" And she received a letter from her old flame, Sir Harold, and to meet him at the edge of the forest on this day. And so she turns up, and he's dead. It's just like, so in the Humblewood game, it basically had that dream scene, or where she had a dream of the past, where he was going off on campaign, and that was the end of their relationship.
It was a good one.
Yeah. So So Nico doesn't like to follow rules. She she's not a D&D player. Like, she's never cracked a book. So she's kind of like, and that's why her character is somewhat broken. Oh yeah, that's right. And dude would shoot darts out of his bagpipes. A terribly not optimized bard by any sense of the imagination. Yeah. And what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so so she tends to make characters that don't strictly follow the rules, like Hobor's staff, that has 3 different staffs all duct taped together, that does all the things that the staffs do. And then I remember people in chat were like, you can't use Shillelagh to do full damage with both ends of the staff and all that, but hey, Osier, not Osier, Hobor, I think, has 3 feats into. I think they has Polearm Master, and it has another one that allows you to do extra. Yeah, and so technically, legally, you could argue that Hobor can do 2 attacks per turn at full damage with the staff, and a 3rd attack if she uses a bonus action.
Yeah. It's a framework,
assuming that Shillelagh is up, and Shillelagh can just always be up because it's a cantrip. So
yeah. Hobor does have the power of God and anime on her side.
Yeah, exactly. Osier's a wizard with 2 subclasses at this point.
That's right. That's right.
It's rule 0 of D&D is whatever the DM, you change any of these rules you want.
But as a DM, it's like players aren't trying they're not trying to to break the rules to break the game. They're just trying to make a cool character. So
yeah.
So now Nico says she says she needs help naming a mushroom farm after Hobor. So yeah, so get in the chat, guys. Talk about the mushroom farms.
I mean,
yeah.
Here's a one for everyone. I mean, I know what my one is, but I mean, what's your favorite class and subclass you have played already? I mean, everyone's got their favorite subclass and class and things that they have or that they want to play.
They have played.
I mean, my one so far has been Ben in the Cloaks game, where I stood in for Michaela for a bit. When I did the Ranger and there was a halfling ranger, so obviously not that much optimized, a little bit optimized, but with I think I made him a hunter and thrown weapon mastery,
Yeah,
which is quite interesting.
I
I was
love the
sitting
idea
in,
of a throwing weapon fighter.
yeah, because I was doing the maths the other day, and I told you about it in when was it? Yesterday,
yesterday the
yesterday's
Candlekeep
game. Yeah, I mean, if you work out the maths on the difference between a dagger and a short sword on average damage is 1 point. So why not just use daggers? Again, it comes down to the choice of the idea behind the character rather than the mechanics of the character.
Yeah, ultimately I'm going to sacrifice if I have to sacrifice one, I'm sacrificing mechanics or a mechanical advantage, for something that fits the concept, because they're all an approximation anyway. It's like you could get super crunchy, you could get 10 times crunchier than Pathfinder, and you could like have everything so specific, or there's a balance between something is between specificity and an abstraction of a concept.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, all the characters that I'm currently playing, I haven't planned out where they are going past the level where they are.
Yeah, I get. Yeah.
For me, I don't really care about character, about the nuts and bolts of characters.
But there has to be one you enjoyed the most.
I think Luca. I think I'm really enjoying Luca. I think it's just really Luca has great relationships or interesting relationships with the other party members, and like I have an idea what's going to happen to the characters. So yeah. No, but it's really fun. It's really fun making a character with a lot of options like rogues have. Yeah, a lot of other like a problem with 5th edition D&D is that not all classes really have built-in things that allow you to use your bonus action. Like a lot of classes just don't have things you can do with bonus actions, and I think it's really cool to have to be able to do 3 things in a turn plus a reaction. A lot of classes don't have reactions, and so
I'm interested to
Luca
see
has a lot to do.
That I don't know really what it would be like, but there's a designer like D&D designer called Benjamin Huffman, who made the pugilist class that Boyd plays in Cloaks, and I played it in a home game before. I think it's really great. It's your strength based, fisticuffs kind of. It's if you want to be, because a monk doesn't get the, like, if you want to be a big bruiser like a brawler, it doesn't really work. And I do feel like it's something of a space that it fills in D&D. He was talking recently about he's designing another new, like I think a whole class called the Dervish, that kind of whirling dervish thing. And from what he'd said, the concept is going to very much be based around reactions. They might even get like extra reactions in a round, and a lot of their core class features will be based around reactions. So I'm interested to see how that'll kind of play out.
That being said, monks have too much, but or you could argue that monks have too much. Like in a big game, a monk's turn can take a really long time. Although Andrew, you're really good. You're really good at being quick. But like when you watch, people play on stream with a monk and they're not super familiar, it can take a long time for them to get through all of their, things that they can do in a turn.
I think it's because there's a limited resource. I think you see the same problem with people who aren't familiar with caster classes who play caster for the first time.
Oh,
just because it's so much more information to manage than when you're playing essentially a straight martial class.
And I can tell you that with Luca, bonus action and reaction, if I'm casting spells, I'm out of spells in 3 rounds because I only have like 6 spell slots. So it's a limited resource again, which takes up time, but then it's gone, right? But then what fights last longer than 3 rounds in this game? Anyway?
And even me, I have to look up every single time what's the specific language for my open hand bit, because you can only use it for flurry of blows, and it's 3 specific unique effects, and I can never remember which is the strength save and which is the dex save. So oftentimes I might even just default to the I'm swiping your reaction because that will save us time.
Only on flurry of blows. I just assumed it was like on just unarmed strikes.
Oh, if it were on all unarmed strikes, we would be this. We wouldn't be at level 16, first of all, and then like,
You'd still
we'd
be resolving your character's fight from 3 sessions ago.
Yeah, no, it would be crazy. Yeah, no, and maybe I think one of the reasons why I picked open hand is like it is mechanically very effective. It does the things that it needs to do. Like it does what monks are supposed to do, and it does them well. I think because it adds a slight element of battlefield control.
It's the
just a
BBEG
little bit.
nerfer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Huge amounts.
a monk is more of a defensive class than a straight up damage dealing class, in my opinion. You're there to kite a bit. You're there to pull the aggression away from other players.
And you can neutralize 1 or 2 opponents.
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
pretty big,
In much the same way that a fighter or like a rogue might do more weapon damage on a turn than the barbarian might, but the barbarian is just like tanking so much more damage and they're getting in people's face. They don't have like a fighter where you can get 4 attacks per turn and you've got like a crazy +3 weapon and you just dishing out damage like no one's business.
What was the thing I played in Mark's one shot with the Tarrasque? My samurai elf fight.
I really like that. This is a good subclass.
Can do 10 attacks a turn.
Oh yeah, that's right. I completely forgot about those. Hit that thing with a haste and see what happens.
Yeah, that was without haste. Because I think I built him with an oath bow. So I mean, he had advantage on every first attack that he does per round. That's a shit ton of damage, and then he can do 10 attacks if he uses his what's it? Not second wind.
Action surge.
Action surge. Yeah. I mean,
that's the thing that the samurai has. It's like oh god, what is it? Fighting spirit, and what does that do? It's like you get advantage or like
you can give an attack advantage.
Get like advantage for the round or something, like a certain number of times.
You're talking about the one where you give your
and you
get fighting spirit.
Give yourself
subclass
disadvantage or something like that, and then you could do an extra attack or something like that.
Yeah, it's like you do your samurai, focus, and I'm not
something like that. Yeah,
the power of God in anime.
So there was a character. There was a character in one of my Humblewood games, in my Harper's Tale games. So he played a Corvum fighter samurai, who had that ability. And I remember he was like, they were being attacked by a couple of archers. They were just a couple of rogue archers that were just killing them. Not enough movement to get there. It's like, fuck, what do we do? And then the fighter, the paladin who had a shield that could do a gust of wind once a day. He's like gust of wind, and then doesn't the fighter leap into the air, do an incredible acrobatics check, get like 50 extra feet of movement, bases the thieves, and just starts uses his katana to like cut them. It was a pretty great moment.
It's very, very much Colossus taking Wolverine and doing the speedball special. And
yeah.
Just launch, just throw the fighter at him.
So it's like pretty great.
Yeah.
I mean, but isn't that the moments we live for that one roll that just works out?
Yeah.
All right. So, do we want to talk about my game? So what do you like? I don't know. Do you guys have any feelings about the game? I mean, I don't get a lot of feedback, so it's hard to know. I presume you're enjoying it, because usually when people don't enjoy it, they stop showing up, right? So people tend to have been showing up.
Yeah, honestly, it's the longest one shot I've ever played in.
That's right.
This is a what, I don't know how many. What shot? I don't know.
In the middle of the week, when I'm thinking about the game, I think it's going on too long. I'm getting tired of it. But then when I start prepping, I'm like, oh, this is great. I still think that I like the slightly shorter. Like I don't, especially on streams, right? You don't want your viewers to be stuck watching a thing or not want to join in because it's not fresh for longer. I feel like for longer than 30 sessions, kind of thing. And that would be weekly games. That way you can have a whole campaign in less than a year, so people can join in, be part of it, and not be forced to. Yeah. So I feel like this is going from 1 to 20 is really hard, especially for the DM to set up challenges that are challenging, that that don't kill you or automatically get defeated by you. So
And when the
I
power
definitely think the
level's
sweet
constantly
spot.
changing as well, so it's
There's
difficult
a-
for you to get it.
I like starting from level 1 because the characters get, because we were talking about that before the stream, is if you
No,
don't start from
love it.
level 1,
I love
yeah,
it.
yeah,
if you don't
just
start from
have,
level 1, everyone survives. Like level 3 start. I know I'm the noob on the
No.
chat. I have no room.
So I'll tell you why I like level 1, because it allows your characters to gel organically with each other before they start choosing their subclass and things like that. And I mean, as a DM, you just don't set up challenges that will kill them. You set up stuff that's easy enough for them to deal with, and you make it role play stuff so that they can, so that by the time they get to, and you just do one session. Like the first session is level 1, they're done. Next session they're level 2, and then they do something else, another mini adventure, and then they're done. And then, because at the low levels you could just play one session and level up, and then so that they're level 3 by the time you hit their third or fourth session. They're level 3. That way people aren't stuck in characters they don't like. They could make changes. You could retcon things like that. So that's why I like starting at level 1. With
I enjoy this.
Also, it allows them to become friends or enemies with NPCs. You can set up villains. It's just a really great. It gives extra hooks, for grabbing those players.
Yeah,
But that's just
I honestly, I enjoy the squishiness of a level 1 character. Playing a level 1 character.
Well, you picked a wizard, so it's kind of like moot.
I must say, there's something I enjoy about being a level 1 fighter, where it's like, if I lose HP, I've got a second wind as a bonus action, but other than that, it's just
you could take one more hit. You can take one more hit than another player, than another character.
Like I've got an attack and that's it. And it's like, I'm the guy, people are like, what are we doing? It's like, well, I'm the guy that's got chainmail and a big sword, Well, that's,
Like the pre-street game of Kettlekeep. I mean, right at the end there, my character decided, oh, there's a well in the middle of the room. I'm going to go see what's in there. And what was it? A giant centipede, and it bit my head off.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, yep.
Yeah, it took me down in one hit. Wasn't even a critical hit.
So that's what you want to have. As a DM, you want to find bad guys that the party can fight, that are kind of like solo monsters that have a bunch of hit points, but that don't do too much damage. So that they don't take out, especially they don't take out multiple characters in one turn, because that could just end the whole thing.
No multi-attack.
Yeah. So I can admit that I didn't have anything planned for this campaign beyond the fuzzy notion that you got hired by some traveling wizard to kill some slimes, and then from Andrew's character I got the idea that Kren could be part of this, and then I set up. And then you had NPCs that were worshiping Kren, and they were being persecuted by the paladins of Rhea,
Yeah.
And then I think Incarnate came out with the ancient Egyptian tile set, and I thought that's really cool. Let's make a cave under the island that looks like ancient Egyptian statues, And then that got me to thinking about ancient Egyptian gods, because they all have animal heads. Wouldn't it be cool if there was I was thinking Mockingbird that stole the gods, and then I thought a magpie was a mockingbird. Anyway, so that's why
I love that concept. I've been intrigued about that concept of. It was like, that's why my question to the caged soul was like, and I know obviously you hadn't, because I'm the same. I often don't. I might have a broad idea, but it's like, I don't know what the players are going to do. So if I think of stuff in the back, it's like, I can't,
you were saying,
but I was like, who's the Earth God? Because we know when you were like, Inogu and Adea Ra with it.
Yeah, because I had said that the three main gods had their jobs stolen from them, but it didn't occur to me to think about who the Earth God was before Kareth, and so I was like, oh fuck, it's Zaratan, the Great Turtle, so which is another great thing from other cultures.
Yeah, it seems like it's like the perfect one for the Earth God, the classic, the turtle holding up the
this Arabian legend.
But I have done it myself in the past, but even like I've seen Matt Colville on streams and certain games. It's like, I think it's perfectly acceptable to just be like, somebody says, what is who is do you know a good blacksmith or whatever, or who is that character, and he's like, he tells you the guy's
Yeah.
name. I don't know it yet. I will next week, but whatever. He tells you the dude's
Exactly.
name, or he tells you
Yeah,
the
yeah,
name
yeah.
of the place.
I mean,
Yeah, it's
I
like,
do that. I do that a lot in the Fellowship game where you,
Or I get chat
especially
to make up a
Richard,
name. Yeah.
yeah.
especially Richard or Tom would ask me,
Yeah.
for a piece of
Or
information. I'm
yeah,
like, you'll have to give me a week.
or there is the more devious and makes you look much more, omnipotent with this sort of like, oh, it's in here somewhere. It's in my notes. I can't find it right now. I'll tell you next.
Remember
Make them think you have everything planned out.
So remember that giant crab that you fought that was inhabiting a tower? And I was like, we need a name for this crab, and it was Sebastian Crabulon. So yeah, so the stat. You know what? Do you want to know what the stats for that was? The stats were just a Chul. It's like a CR5 monster. That is the size. It's like a big. It looks like a Cthulhu lobster kind of monster.
Yeah.
And I just decided it has the same stats as a Chul. It's just really big.
Yeah.
It has
they're
a high armor
They're
class.
pretty good monsters. I like them because they're like a pretty decent, like they're chunky, like they've got some.
Yeah, you were a third
attacks.
level party, so it was going to be hard for you to fight that thing and survive.
And then they got like the paralysis thing. Well, because it was cloaks, and it was like this is supposed to be terrible and deadly. It was when you were playing, Jean. It was
I remember that thing.
It was a chol, but I also gave it. I think I gave it higher AC because it had a big rock on its back, like a hermit crab.
And that thing took Boyd down in like 2 rounds.
Yeah, I think you were level 2 because it was like, yeah, fuck you guys. This is cloaks. Yeah, you can't go fuck yourselves. Every encounter is deadly.
Yeah, so I just basically been building the game, laying down the track ahead of you guys. So having a 2-week break makes that easier for sure. Mm-hmm. But I subscribe to the theories of Sly Flourish and the Lazy DM, where you spend, you decide how much time you're going to have to prep, and then you go through a bunch of different things. Mm-hmm. It's like I want to make sure that there's interesting places to go. I want to make sure that there's secret things to find out. I want to make sure that there are important NPCs you can talk to. I want to make sure the world feels lived in, like things happen, when you're not there, like Hoot, the continuing joke of Hoot getting more and more desperate messages from the queen of the ocean, who's like, we're all dying, and Hoot's like, sup, man, so like, so that's
we're gonna have to deal with it one day.
Yeah, the classic, which actually is another thing that Matt Colville talks about. I think was if you do have something of a, an open world, they're all technically open world games.
Yeah.
But like, there's a band of orcs that are going around pillaging. There's also like, there's been whispers about a necromancer in a tower, and there's also a corrupt lord who's been holding a town hostage with his brigands. And it's like, they can only do one of them, but it's like by going to do one, the other 2 they get worse.
So those are called fronts. Those are called multiple fronts, and it's from Dungeon World. Yeah, so definitely. And that's how I would like. A lot of these games like Phandelver or Icespire, where you have a whole bunch of different jobs you can do. But I never looked at those books. I don't know how static they are, but I feel like, that like you see the message board and all these different jobs you can do. Save the woman, the potion lady from the whatever, the spiky flying,
the manticores,
Manticore, or go to the dwarven mines and do, and presumably some of these are higher level than others, but it'd be interesting to have a supplement that has all of these different jobs with like more than one tier, so that if they do this one first, it's easier, and then the other ones become harder.
I mean, so I can tell you now that's not built into the book, but I've built it into the campaign.
Yeah, it's easy enough to balance it out by just
swap out
up the monsters or add more monsters.
More of them, swap them out.
I think that I've seen that kind of concept incorporated into something that came across Kickstarter, and I apologize because I cannot remember the name of the authors, but the premise was that it's like a 1 through 20 sort of module style situation, and so you can pick an adventure, and then like from there it stems to like very very like optometrist, just 1 or 2 or 3 kind of situation. I don't know if that's like America only reference, but we had to pay an exorbitant amount for eye care, and they would sit down for this machine. They go 1 or 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that reference is very niche. I'm sure someone found it funny. moving on.
I think I know.
Moving on. The point being, though, is like the concept is like certain paths would be locked inherently on choices you made previously. There was like outcomes in the end game affected by what you've done, apart from any sort of like creative liberties taken by the party or by the DM throughout implementing the modules. Like that I found really cool. That's actually one of the reasons why I really like the Fire Emblem games is they've been re-implemented for Switch, because it seems like there was some more intention put into the writing based on how you can recruit characters, engage with traditionally NPC kind of style characters, and how that affects the shape of the narrative. It's still very railroady compared to like these games, compared to even other CRPGs, but it's something that I really enjoy. So I appreciate that kind of thought put into scaling and the consequences of making a decision or not making a decision.
Yeah, so I mean, the only official D&D game that or D&D campaign published one that I've found that's properly written in that sense of where there's, consequences to actions, and, even where time of year affects the game, is Waterdeep Dragon Heist.
Yeah.
Where your, the season you are in determines your villain, which determines who is the dominant criminal organization in the adventure, and then, everything stems from that. If you go to this location at that time of year, there's someone else there.
Yeah. It's great for replayability as well.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. It's basically it's kind of 4 campaigns, really. Like it's 4, at least 4 flavors of the same
game, yeah. And I love there's a document that you get with it. I think it's called the Code Legal. That is such a nice thing to use in a game, especially if you've got a party that tends to want to break the rules or the law of the land. Because my party that I ran it for decided to break into some manor. It was part of the game, but they were caught doing it. Yeah. And they all had to go to jail for a little bit.
Is there like a flow chart with that represents the justice system, and you have to like make skill checks to get through it? And
I played in a Dragon Heist game. I wasn't the DM, but I thought this would be cool. So what I did is, because we were all local, we're all in Ireland, so I got everyone's address. And I made one for myself, but I made these because everyone is given a code legal when they get
when they enter the city. Yeah.
So yeah, there was
cool.
The laws, but these were all personalized. So mine, I was playing a massive it's a concept that he's a character I played, but I actually put him in cloaks. He is a half elf fighter, but he's like a really big, really burly, really ugly Cockney half elf. So he doesn't really look elven. He's like big, big brow. He's missing a bunch of teeth.
Oh, I remember you.
So they call him his dad.
They call him. People call him the orc because they were like, he looks like an orc, not a.
He's half orc, half elf. Yeah.
No, he's half elf, half human. But they were like, he looks like a big brute with pointy ears. It's like he looks more like an orc. But he was a big mummy's boy, and he would give half of all his mercenary pay to his mum, and he would go for Sunday dinner every Sunday. So his is stained with gravy, and there's a note on it that says, "You left your big sword at the house, hun. Love, mum." She's written on his code legal. But like the rogue, I gave his code legal. He had scratched out code legal and written to-do list, and then scratched off a bunch of crimes that he'd already committed and stuff. And then the DM got just a pristine note. It wasn't scuffed, so it was like,
I mean,
and it had a stamp on it, like a seal of office.
Yeah, if anyone wants to implement a legal system in their D&D game, I'd highly recommend taking the code legal from Dragon Heist. I mean, it's got your sentences and fines related to the crimes and everything on there.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure because it says like the wandering justices. What are the robes? What's the actual name for them? Are they magisters?
It's not inquisitors.
I think it might be magister
or something like that.
And then they call them the robes. That it's like they can not full on Judge Dredd style, but they can
Sentence on the spot, yeah.
on the spot, and it's like these are basically like, you know, ballpark sentences. They can be more lenient, or they could slap a greater fine or more prison time or whatever on you, you know, as they deem necessary.
Yeah, I mean, they've got things on there like striking a noble, death.
Yeah.
Striking a noble.
Yeah. What is on here? Murdering a citizen without justification.
When you take the noble backstory, so you can be like a reverse murder hobo and just
No, yeah.
Okay, so talking about city adventures, I just remembered Nico's Nico's probably best character is Jackie, the pirate lady, the pirate lady from our hub game that we ran with some other writers and stuff. And yeah, Jackie was great because I decided that her mother was the pirate queen, you know, who was coming after Jackie in order to force her back into the life of pirates, and you know, and how Jackie was forced to murder people and do all kinds of stuff, and she's like this damaged, and of course, as Nico tends to do, she made a character who was a ranger, and chose her favorite terrain to be a boat, and so every skill check made on a boat was made with advantage. They you know, anyway, so yeah, they had a what are those boats that rise up out of the water on foils?
Hydrofoil.
Hydrofoils, yeah. So it was a hydrofoil sailboat, invented by a kobold artificer, you know, and so they hit 50 knots with a natural 20 sailing check, you know, on this weird looking little, like the boat is really tubby and doesn't look seaworthy, but as soon as it rises out of the water, you know, anyway, very cool.
Nice.
So yeah, that was Jackie, the Red Lady, and of course people keep thinking she's the Red Lady for some reason. She looks just like her mother, you know, and so hopefully Nico's not listening anymore. Hopefully you're not there. Yeah, because and then I was dropping hints that that the pirate ship, I forget the name of it, was basically like a space dreadnought, like a flying. This is a world with flying ships and portals that lead to other worlds, and so the flying dreadnought was basically they found like an ancient ruin from thousands of years before, and there's a tapestry, a mosaic on the wall behind, clearly showing that ship flying through space, and it's like this ship is thousands of years old. What the fuck, you know? And then text that talked about the Red Lady at the helm, you know, and it's like, how old is my mother, you know? So yeah, so like the idea is, it's like, is her mother a lich? Is her mother a vampire? You know, what's the deal with Jackie? You know, like, is Jackie a clone of her mother that her mother wants to reactivate, or you know, and her mother's getting older now, you know, wants to bring her daughter back so she can you know, become young again. Anyway, so it's all that game kind of like it's on hiatus. You know how D&D games can be.
Yeah.
Definite hiatus. Well, have we talked enough? We've been at it for about an hour and a half or so. Do we have any other topics we want to cover? Do we have any more questions from chat? I feel like the chat is slowly dying.
I haven't seen any new questions. I don't know, unless there's something else you guys want to throw a question at.
I mean, like, I didn't get to answer the question about like where we feel about the campaign. My only thought is, like, obviously I've created this series of decreasingly invested characters, although apparently increasingly invested by time, and so my attachment to the campaign is like tenuous, but I'm always excited to show up just because you all are so great to play with. And so I'm excited to see what, if anything, we do next, obviously schedules permitting, motivation, time, energy, resources permitting. And so if DM or other folks have thoughts about like what kind of campaign they'd like to play in the future, no time frames, no commitments, but just curiously, like I'm just like always love to know what like sort of lore interests others.
Well, for me, so once this game is over, probably in like another 15 sessions, if we're doing 3 sessions per level, you know, I mean, it's working out to be about 3 sessions per level. So you know, we still have until the end of this year probably, because it's bi-weekly. I'd like to do another game, but a shorter run game. And so, and honestly, I just, you know, I'm thinking like for a stream game, you want to bring in people that have followers so that your game could be more popular. But I really like this group. Like every player is different. Not all, some of the players need hand holding. Others, have to be held back. Some, it just and it's the makeup of a D&D party, right? Or it's the makeup of a group of friends. Like I feel like like I said in on whatchamacallit, Twitch, on Discord. No, on Discord. You know, I wish we could get together for a weekend, just play D&D all weekend. As us, because the raunchiness, like I've just never seen. Like I don't understand how we haven't tripped safety rules, because like I guess people can take it, but it's just literally right. The raunchiness in this game, I've just never experienced that. Like people are like, oh, Richard's games are always like that. It's like, no, it's just
I'm wondering if we were using humanoid characters, if that would be better or worse.
You know what? I think Humblewood is a really great way to play games and explore a lot of things and
like bestiality
and make it safer. It's like good sci-fi does that, right? Like bad sci-fi just uses actual real world stuff, whereas good sci-fi just sets up a hypothetical situation that reminds you that it's like, So.
It's a lot easier. It's like then a story acted out with real humans, versus like getting a bunch of stuffed animals and be like, today we're going to talk about the Ardenwood genocide. Like, it's a lot easier,
But I mean, isn't that the whole point of
cleansing? It's like it softens the blow.
Yeah, it does. I mean, but isn't that the whole point about D&D, is to escape into that fantasy?
So transfer racism to imaginary characters. So
then it's not so bad.
Yeah.
There is something to be said as well for the also, like you were saying with Luca, there's a whole conversation that we won't get into, but just role-playing games and role-playing in general as a great tool for exploring certain topics and building empathy for other people and other experities.
Actually,
that it's okay.
I can speak to that. So, Joan, remember when I made that ranger character for your one shot with the werewolves? Yes. And I thought, I'll give this ranger character two it's like, I think he was a half elf, two prosthetic legs, and there's very little mechanical effect. I was thought maybe he could have advantage on athletic checks to jump, but disadvantage for like walking on tightrope or what, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like that's a very minor effect. Then I was thinking, well, Juan's the South African game master, and then there was that South African athlete who murdered his girlfriend. He was the guy with the two prosthetic legs, and I thought, let's not go there. So instead I gave him like a prosthetic arm, which was basically his a thorn whip spell that he would just turn into an arm, and so he just always had disadvantage on dexterity checks for like fine motor skills or whatever. But anyway, so I just thought, for stream, let's not because people might comment on it, right? It's like, oh, are you just, I forget the guy's name anyway.
Oscar Pistorius, right?
Yeah, that's right. He was like a gold, like a medal winning.
Yeah, he's a gold medal Paralympian.
Actually,
his case is actually coming up again now, or is up again now.
Because I think he's
parole hearing or something.
Randomly, an MP in Britain, just long story short, there's a lot of people running campaigns for the position of Prime Minister, and one of the Tory women, or the Conservative women, Penny Mordaunt, it was in a video about a Brit, like she was like, oh, Britain, we're great. It was all very jingoistic, and it was like we're great, and there was the national anthem playing or whatever, but there was a British Paralympian, but he was in a race, and like Pistorius was rather prominently on display as well, running, and then people were like, "It's not a great look. It's sort of, it could be seen that you're focusing on Pistorius." And
it's like,
there's also a bunch of stuff that like a load of people asked to be removed from the campaign ad, and
it's like people on Tinder who have more than one person in their profile photo, and it's like it's never the one you hope it is,
Yeah,
it's like you're hoping it's going to be Andrew, but it's Pistorius always.
Yeah. Oh man.
I'm really trying to put some fire jokes in the chat, y'all. I'm so sorry. They're not all great.
Anyway, so
they're all there.
And that's another thing about me is I'm always sidetracks. Yeah. So what was I going to say? I was talking about the next game that I want to run. I'd like it to be, so I'd like to have the same cast, even though, if anybody wants to give up the responsibility of playing D&D, that could be fine. But, same cast and run a game that would be a shorter run. I'm happy for it to be a different campaign, but I kind of love the Humblewood, so I don't know.
I still want to do a proper mothership, not just a one shot.
Oh yeah.
Like
We could even time it.
Other systems, would be.
We could time it for when the first edition finally comes out, because it's coming out soon. I think so.
I even though even though you screwed me over so bad with those sanity rolls, Richard.
Well, is it your character that basically went for a spacewalk and immediately vomited in his helmet and choked on his own vomit?
No,
and had to be brought back in because the helmet was full of vomit.
No, that was someone else. It was the spider thingies that drove my sanity.
Yeah.
And then we figured out it was supposed to be 2 sanity damage or something like that, and not 2d10 sanity damage.
Yeah, the rules are really fluid, So I know how it is sometimes. Sorry.
But I'd love to play that again.
Mouse Ritter, yes. I'd like to be a mouse in that game. So.
Yeah.
And then obviously speaking about when the campaigns are done and things like that. So I mean we've talked about it. When I'm done with the fellowship game, I want to run a Pathfinder game as well. Because I
really want to try Pathfinder,
it is so much fun. I mean, Richard, I know you've played Pathfinder, but probably more than me.
I've run it. I ran the first campaign they did when they were still playtesting. What was it called? Rise of the Rune Lords.
Oh yes.
I ran it until about 10th level, and then that's when I quit that gaming group because I had some issues with that gaming group. I ended up quitting. So I set up that game. What I did so that the party knew each other, I set up a Fiasco game. So Fiasco is kind of a party game where Fiasco is a game of people sitting around a table, and it duplicates films like Snatch. It's a game in which people make bad decisions and there are horrible consequences, and it's done with index cards, and it's a great way and you just set up a Fiasco game for the characters so that they can figure out where they come from, who they know, which other characters they know, if they all, and then And I remember at that time my gaming group just wasn't interested, and they were just fucking around. I remember thinking, "Fuck, man, I wish I could find a group that, that wants to play D&D and not just be assholes." And then eventually, I quit that group, and then I have you guys. So love you guys.
You want to play D&D and be assholes.
yeah, and then it might get and then everyone's just being assholes in the game after all. Fuck.
Yeah. I do like that idea, and I think it would be the same for me once Cloaks reaches some kind of conclusion. More so, like you said, Richard, the best description being like the Dimension 20 model of that anthology thing of like, okay, let's do a game for like whatever it might be, 20 sessions. Like
their 4-session games are too short. I really like their main cast ones that are like 12 or more sessions. The space one they just did recently was really great because you felt you could really feel like they didn't have a limit. They were just going to play until it ended, and it ended up going like 16 sessions, I think. Or something.
Yeah, I still love the high school one.
Yeah. I mean, they ran Fantasy High is so good.
Fantasy High, yeah, that was the best.
My god. Yeah. How do you deal with half the party getting killed in the second episode of your TV show?
Exactly.
Like Brandon Mulligan is a genius. Anyway, so
yeah. But that's, I think, for a game as DM, I suppose I would enjoy it as a player as well. But particularly as a DM, I want to do a Spelljammer game. I want to do Fantasy Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm not even like that big of a sci-fi guy, but the sort of science fantasy weird space.
Yes. Monty Cooks has a Kickstarter that's coming out like early next year, which is like a space jammer, Spelljammer kind of thing. I think they figured out that Wizards was going to do it soon.
It's Space Jammer. Everyone's balling.
Space Jammer. Oh yeah. This is the one that has the Rogue Moon. The Rogue Moon that's going to just anyway. It's just
there's an unnaturally fuckable cartoon rabbit. Like
yeah. what is it called?
Cool World.
With I think it's like, oh, fuck, what are they, like Apocalypse Studios or something? But they're those like guys that make, like, they know, say that, like, oh, a Transformers movie is coming out, so they really quickly slap together this, like, not even a B movie, like a C movie, and it's like, you know, it's literally Transmorphers and
Remorphers,
alien-
liberals
a-
in disguise.
yeah,
It's like Brazzers.
Alien versus Hunter, snakes on a train, and it's like they're designed to sell them at a gas station in a bin to trick, you know, grandmas and grandpas into buying, like, oh, it's that Transmorphers movie that my grandson, he likes those, you know. Like, it's like they're scam movies.
It's made to trick grandparents into renting it for their grandkids.
And then then they show up on the Sci-Fi Channel, like, you know, a year later.
And then we love them.
Controversial joke incoming. It's like Digimon. Like
Yeah,
Pokemon is the main, and then
Digimon, but I think Digimon came first. Didn't Digimon come first in Japan? And then Pokemon was like, that looks like a cool idea. Let's make a better thing, you know. So
that's this was
I'll
something
have,
I discovered.
I'll have to go look.
Yeah, I didn't know what Hydrox were, but then someone was like, the Hydrox, the cookies that are exactly like Oreos, but I'm like, they came before Oreos, but Oreos are. Yeah. I learned that from Brennan Lee Mulligan from recently watching old College Humor sketches where he plays various CEOs.
Oh my god, the Oreo cookie CEO.
Oh, it's the best one.
Where they kept hitting him with ridiculous names of Oreo cookies, but they were all real. All of them were real. He's like, really? 4th of July flavor? What is that?
Yeah, and the best is the...
is that a flavor?
I used the quote because I showed it to my girlfriend and we were talking about something else, about someone else, and I had to pull out one of my favorite quotes now, which is him saying, you have a poison in your mind, and it's the fact that you can't see it is so sad.
Yeah.
And also, he's naming all the Oreos, and he's just sitting there. He's like, you are a babbling fool, and we have built a temple to madness.
Yeah, because he's like, we won, we have won. You just take the week off. It's fine. This is the best cookie ever made. You don't have to make more versions of the Oreos.
Yeah, we did it. We can go home. We did it. We made the good cookie that everybody liked. Now we get to go home.
Yeah. So it looks like Pokemon came before Digimon. 1997 for Pokemon, Digimon 1999.
Well, there you go.
I said what I said.
And
That's
honestly,
the one non-fake news the American.
Yeah, I had a very brief and intense love affair with Digimon.
I prefer Digimon above Pokemon.
So getting back to in chat, Deranged Rhino said, "Long live God Radika Bluey." There's a thing I made up on the spur of the moment.
Radika Bluey.
I was so invested in making mechanical devices that would kill Sir Arthur. There was the flying wing that broke, you know, and then there was the submersible, the suit that you ejected from, and then somebody did a nat 20 roll to convince the fish people that it was
I think it was on my deception check with the
an illusion,
with a minor illusion to give you the halo and everything. Then
because I had just like killed, and I was like, your god is dead, and then you did the
something about that whole episode retrospectively very much has the same vibe as the revival of Kate Bush's running up a hill. Like, it's this. There's a Venn diagram there. I can't explain it any
It was
further,
like an acid trip.
I'm not wrong.
Yeah, apparently she made good. I mean, good for Kate Bush. She's made like since that episode aired. She's made 19 million pounds. Like, and that was like
just based on Spotify clicks. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a massive surge in. Yeah.
Well, Metallica since then also have had a huge spike. I think.
Yeah.
Oh my god! And did the octopus that? Yeah, the octopus. Remember Sir Arthur charged into battle with the octopus and it grappled him, and then somebody hit the octopus with a fear spell, and the octopus fucking
ran away.
Yeah,
Sir Arthur. Thank God Nightshade could swim, because otherwise, I couldn't think of, as a DM. Those are terrifying moments as a DM, because you can't think of a way that you're going to save this character, right? Because I'm not trying to kill people, you know.
Well,
I'm
with
not
the-
just trying to kill people for just for bad
Just
luck,
because,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Has to
yeah,
be
with the
it has to make
mechanisms
sense.
with the suit and the glider, little did you know, Richard, you just have to leave Sir Arthur to his own devices, and he will just be too stupid to live and get his head chopped off. A good old fashioned death.
Almost twice.
Yeah.
Well, somebody at work was talking about something that people don't know about them, and she said, "I had a hedgehog. You know, I saved a hedgehog for it was found almost dead in the wild, and it lived with me for several years while I was a student, and then it died. It got stuck in one of my shoes and died." And I'm like, I want to hear that. Like,
Oh god.
just see Sir Arthur get stuck like in a pitcher of ale or something, and it's like, you know, he killed a god, and now he's stuck in a pitcher of ale, dead. You know, like
I've
just
fallen and I can't get up.
Yeah. Or he goes turtle in his armor. I can't get it.
And he had reins. And he just drowns.
His helmet fills up with water.
Didn't that almost happen to Arthur in the Retica Bluey suit?
Oh yeah.
Something
Probably.
happened that you.
It's filled up with water. Yeah, it's
It's
filled up with
with
water.
Oh
But I think
yeah.
but I think you had a helmet. I think you had a circlet of water breathing or something underneath.
Oh
I can't
no!
remember
I know
how
what it
you
was.
survived
No,
this.
I had. I didn't take any water breathing stuff because we had a finite number of resources, I think. And
Yeah.
you allowed somebody to. They're like, well, if I pour this potion of water breathing into it, and it diluted it in the
Mixes.
water, and thus I was
Well,
able.
it was
breathe.
Nico. Nico was trying to
I think it was
administer
Nico,
potions to you. Yeah.
I'm pretty
so.
sure. Yeah.
So I spent like hours coming up with 20 random things that could happen, including number 20, which was thermonuclear detonation. It was like the Akira bomb.
Yeah.
So that never happened. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
one day Arthur's going to sit on the beach and look out at the ocean. He's just going to see.
yeah. I still, part of me, I think I don't, if say, if we do another Humblewood game, I don't necessarily want to, I don't think I would want to go like Paladin or Cleric again, but I would maybe like to maybe I would just make an otherwise devout character, and I would want to have somebody that's worshipping Ratica Bluey, I'll make an artificer who worships Ratica Bluey. There we go.
There we go.
Like a Mapache with a missing arm.
Mm.
I think it would be really fun to do like an actual otter or like an actual aquatic mammal who would have maybe some like potential to really interact either conceptually or from a distance with this new god, and do like a twilight domain, because obviously like deep sea, it's like limited real light.
Yeah. And like
So
the
I'm not
stars,
saying
the
see,
kind
this
of
is
little
how I go about
bioluminescent
character
plankton.
creation. It's a loose series of tangents with some real mechanical probability, and then the puppy. Nope. I was going to say something very vulgar and like refrain. I'm going to try to keep it more PG. I've been doing pretty good today, if I'm patting myself on the back. But like I flesh it out and I give it some. I give it something interesting enough that I want to go further with it, and then from there, if people like it, they like it.
Yeah, and there's an added element I think with the stream. There has been more consideration maybe in my head that like, what's an interesting, entertaining idea that somebody might like to watch, like for a one shot that Dave ran.
For sure.
Like it was a concept I really enjoyed, but I made a Warforged, but he was basically a giant nutcracker and he had a big hammer. It was like that's
Yes.
for a one shot, you got to give him something, make them laugh.
For sure. And you want your stream games to have an automatic built-in audience, right? That's why you want to bring in famous people, who have a following, or you want to run a famous campaign. That's why I bought Call of the Netherdeep. I thought I could run that. That's in a book. It's all in one book. It's going to be great. And I didn't like it for personal reasons. I just didn't like how it was laid out. I suspect it's how most D&D adventures are laid out in books. Because I've never really read any other ones. I have them, but I haven't read them. And I don't know. Maybe it's just not. I don't know. The more I read, the more I thought I just don't want to run this. So that was just how.
Yeah, I've run a one shot or two, but I've never run a full adventure from a book. Like it doesn't seem to particularly suit me, but it feels like I haven't done I feel like I'm going into school and I haven't done my homework. Whereas if I can improvise like if I've created everything, that I can just change things willy nilly. But I'm always self conscious that I've I'll have changed something that will have ramifications, and I'll have fucked something up, and I didn't do all the prep that I needed to. Didn't do the required reading, but I it does work for other people.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've besides a couple of one shots, I mean, I've only run published content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
You do, yeah. I feel like you do. Obviously, everyone kind of has to make it their own anyway, just because you don't know what your party's gonna do, or they'll.
Oh yeah, like the party deciding to go deeper into Wave Echo Cave. Richard.
What? I mean, that's because you revealed to us that you changed the ending. So, and again, I had played Curse Fandelver before, right? With Patty,
yeah.
and I was a forged cleric dwarf, and I remember when we got to the end, and there was like this little green thing, and then, oh, this is the forge.
Forge, yeah.
So,
I mean,
I'm like, really? That's the forge? And then Patty was like, yep, that's the forge. I'm like, well, fuck, man. Okay, it's a thing, and it was. And it wasn't working. It was like it was like this thing that was no longer working, right? So all of this whole adventure led to us finding a thing that was really not working. It was gone.
Yeah, they can literally make a weapon of +1 for 8 hours or something like that.
Yeah. So it was kind of like it was just
12 hours.
It was just really disappointing from a published adventure point of view. And so what you came up with is really great.
Right? Yeah. So I mean, I just said, stuff it, go deep into the mines, go find.
And that's why Luca was never really in the front, because I knew, roughly what was going to happen. I didn't want to be spoiling it, because I think other players in the group had also played it.
I think Tom had played it before as well, yeah.
So when we found that little fire thing, and I was like, so is this it? Are we done? And you were like, nope, you're not done. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess we're going to keep looking for the forge, and so. No, that was a great scene when we found the forge, and then we did that whole skill check thing in order to make to make Craig's greatsword. It was great.
Yeah.
It also makes it a better continuing campaign thing if the forge is found to be functioning, because then the dwarves can go back, and then you could do a Moria thing where they delve too deep and then shit really goes south, or it just sets up like a viable, like our characters are getting thousands of gold pieces as a share in the mine. That's great. So
it's even interesting, like, hey, we got we're now getting all these, we're getting commissions, and it's like we have a forge that can forge magical items, so but we need adamant, we need adamantine. You got to go find, there's a mine, or there's a source of it somewhere. You got to go source it first. If you bring it back, we'll do X. Like, you got to go pick up all these enchantment and forging components for the Rockseeker brothers.
And then setting up Tresendar Manor as the PC's home afterwards, and we get to rebuild it and make maps and stuff. And Luca wants to have a school in there for all the kids. Anyway, it's just a great way to set up. It's a great intro campaign, and it's a shame that Wizards is abandoning that. I think they're abandoning it. Like, I think they're giving it away for free on Roll20, but there's going to be a different intro adventure.
The new starter set, so they're phasing it in the same way as Volo's had Mordenkainen's. They're phasing out, so it's going to be out of print and stuff. So they're going to stop printing the.
I'm not super in love with like how Mordenkainen's this new book came out that was going to fix all these monsters that had problems and stuff. Just they all just do force damage now. That's the big change. I'm like, okay, everything just does force damage. It's all force damage. So I was like, do they hate? Is it because somebody complained about a barbarian one time? Like, I don't understand why. Like, a lot of these higher level monsters, instead of hitting for slashing damage, they hit for force plus acid. It's always force plus something else to try to get around players' characters' defense. I don't know.
And I feel like they did it as well to like. They seem to what they seem to have done is replaced the trait where it's like, this monster's weapon attacks are magical, instead of having that, and they do slashing, bludgeoning.
They just do force.
They just do force, which is like, don't feel like there's some magic.
Someone said force is life. Aeon KO. Force is life.
Don't use the force. Use the magical, piercing, bludgeoning, and slashing damage, Luke.
Yeah, so Roll20 has announced that they've partnered with the DM's Guild and with DriveThruRPG. It doesn't mean anything except that it means that they're not planning to go anywhere. and they will continue to have shit that you can use in your D&D games. That's why I can never go to D&D Beyond, because it's only Wizards stuff. Can't play Humblewood over
Yeah.
there.
I feel like they're
Right,
definitely doing
you know?
it as well because of the now because D&D
And-
Beyond or
and I
Wizards
really
potentially
hope-
doing their own
And I really hope
VTT.
that Wizards doesn't pull their support. Like, what if Wizards cancels all of their licensing with Roll20? I would then be forced to switch to. There's a company that has 3 core books that replace the 3 core books. I forget what it's called. I should get it. Again, I'm a big fan of Sly Flourish. He talks about it a lot, and it's just basically this other company that uses the open license to replace the 3 core books with something that's different,
serial
cooler.
numbers filed off. Yeah.
Well,
no. Level
no,
up,
it's
advanced.
level. Yeah, it's just an alternate core.
Yeah.
Books,
I backed.
right?
I backed
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's like
And so if Wizards was to pull their support of Roll20 and we had no framework to hang D&D games on, I would just switch to that, and then that way I could still use my Humblewood and my all my Kobold Press books that I have.
Exactly.
Because
I'm excited about that because because they initially, like, more recently they did with DM's Guild, and then like a week or so later they did Drive Through RPG. Has all done it, but because I've just started publishing some small things on DM's Guild, I'm gonna try and look into the Roll20 thing, because like something that me and Kyle from the Cloak stream that we did, there's a guys called Grim Press who do a lot of Fantasy Grounds conversions of like DM's Guild stuff. So they'll take your product and just they'll turn it into a module for a VTT for like you don't have to do any work, and you get like 12% of all the sales or whatever it might have been. Because I like that idea. It's like if I make something like a subclass or a race, to be able to like, oh cool, I can actually use that on Roll20. I can just port it over and people can actually use it.
Because you can just take the character sheet and type in whatever you want, but it's really like for players, you want to be able to just click on things and choose stuff, right? So
that's half the reason. That people are playing.
Well, because otherwise, people like Nico, who she doesn't own a player's handbook. She can still make a character and make all the choices and all that stuff because the pull down menus have all that stuff.
Exactly. So. Yeah. Exactly.
Keep singling out Nico.
I will say I am increasingly tempted, as somebody who owns a lot of content on D&D Beyond, to get the GM's license basically, or like subscription, so that I can share it more easily with those of you who objectively like to just have more access to stuff, but obviously have invested a lot of time, energy, and resources, namely moolah, into your Roll20 content.
Yeah, like I bit the bullet, and I did that at the time for my home campaigns and stuff. That I could have D&D Beyond options for players because they like to use it.
That would mean though that I'd have to download Google Chrome back to my new computer though, because there's no Beyond 20. There's no Beyond 20 app for like Microsoft Edge yet, which does suck because I don't mind playing on Edge. It actually works pretty well. I was kind of surprised.
Hi, El Migre. We're currently just having a discussion because 3 of our 6 players or at least 2 of those 3 are out with COVID. So we're just talking about all our games and stuff that we like, and we've kind of merged now into discussions of licensing and stuff that we can find on Roll20 versus D&D Beyond. So
it's general D&D discussion.
Yeah. I mean, Rich is trying to keep me on Roll20, but D&D Beyond integrates quite well into Foundry. And there's a module you can upload, and it pulls literally your entire Beyond library. It pulls it through to Foundry, and everything's there.
My DM for mostly we're playing Call of Cthulhu right now, but we have a less frequent D&D game. He runs Foundry, but you can get a module that integrates. And of course, I'm not encouraging anyone to do this. But there is a website. I've never used it, but I believe it's called 5e Tools, that has everything. And it certainly wasn't invaluable when researching and editing things. But
oh my God.
it will pull all those things into. So it's the full D&D catalog, it pulls it into Foundry. So
Yeah, so-
look, times are tough, you know.
Yeah.
You know, for folks, you know, I I get it.
I mean, I agree that, I mean, like you say, that 5e tools is a nice thing to go back to when you're busy, especially when I'm writing something.
Yeah, it's. I would honestly, if Wizards, you know, if
But-
we say it was D&D Beyond or whatever, if they had something that was that searchable,
Worked as nice as
good,
that, yeah.
I would 100% pay a monthly fee
Yeah,
for it. I would.
That's that said, I'm still building up my library on Beyond.
Oh, and I mean, look, hey, I got this is just the 4 books closest to me. There's a whole stack
Yep.
to my left, you know. And hey, yeah, exactly. So, you know, I get
Yeah,
them all
yeah.
physically too, but
Yeah, I just don't like physical books. I prefer
There are-
digital.
Yeah, like all those.
yeah. I mostly use the digital digital ones because it's easy to reference, but I like looking at my physical ones.
As
I have
as a-
all the D&D
as,
books
like,
just because I'm stupid. Sorry.
as like an unwilling Beyond stan, because I like came into playing D&D around the time of the beginning of the pandemic, and I learned about D&D Beyond from watching Critical Role, and it was just like the most available and like publicly broadcast tool at the time for me, because I wasn't deep into the thick of it. I have found that it handles multi-classing really well. That's why I also would definitely love to play a game with Penny Dragon that is hosted or based within that tool.
Yeah,
Eventually, at
I
some
like
point.
I do like Beyond.
But the apart from the classing and the character creation within the respective class, subclass, and then listable or homebrewed feats, it is kind of miserable because the either module or setting specific bonuses, like some of the heroic traits or whatever they call them for the Theros system or the piety system, none of that's been integrated natively into the character creation module, and that really stinks because I think that's some of the coolest stuff that they've created over the past couple of years. As a huge Greco-Roman mythology nerd who just wants to run up hills with and make deals with gods plural. That's plural.
Yeah.
And so I can absolutely get behind anybody trying to sell me another system, but I'm also an easy target for a sale. So if you are a content creator, tell me more about your book. I will probably buy it.
Yeah.
I see there's a question there. Any other campaigns or games going on in other systems? I mean, besides
on the channel or
I'm assuming on the channel. But no, currently everything is just 5e, but we were talking about it earlier, there's definitely plans to do other things like Pathfinder. What was that one, Ben? Mouser?
Mouse Ritter. Yeah, this
Mouser Ritter, yeah.
I'm playing Blades in the Dark. I have a weekly Blades in the Dark game that I play on Tuesdays after the Juan's game, because my Juan's game is done by 6 p.m. So Blades in the Dark is really great, and I love a lot of concepts from that in my game, like the progress clocks, and I love the idea of characters, like when you're in a tough moment, and just I want to use inspiration or want to use inspiration from chat or something. I'm like, well, if you don't use it to just, and I don't think I've done this yet, but it's like do this to come up with a flashback that that explains why you didn't die right now, or because you see that at in heist movies, right, where the character is caught by the cops, or the cops corner the character in the elevator, and then you see the flashback to the character, setting something up, opening the hatch in the elevator or something or whatever, and then
part of the plan all along,
So Blades in the Dark is basically like a dark, gritty, dark, heist kind of game where you just do the heists and you come up with all your shit by doing flashback scenes to explain why you avoided the guards, or explain why the person shot you but you didn't die, or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting game.
Once I know the system a bit better, I've only played in it, and I wouldn't feel confident enough doing it on stream, but I've recently become a big fan of Call of Cthulhu and would like a Call of Cthulhu game.
I've never played it, but I'd love to play it.
If you want
percentage dice,
I love D&D, but if you want just a complete tonal shift from D&D, it's the perfect it's the perfect alternate week game because it is the complete opposite of the heroic fantasy, like the fantasy power fantasy, where it's like you are awesome
You're the
adventurers
hero,
and you can
yeah.
do all this stuff. It's like you get one of the guys, the
Sword through the head. It's a crit. You take 20 damage.
The goons
have
that were
12.
chasing us were really he
Your
got a good roll.
Your head only has 6 hit points.
Yep,
You're dead.
He got a good roll, and he got it did all his hit points. He got a 9mm round to the head, and what happens when a normal human takes a 9mm round to the head happens to Ray's character, which is his fucking his brain stopped working and he died, and we had to leave him in Innsmouth.
So Aeon Cow in chat is asking what other games we played in life, and so you talked about Call of Cthulhu. RuneQuest is the game Call of Cthulhu was based on, which is even more. So RuneQuest is the fantasy game where your head has a hit location and your arms and your torso.
Okay.
And your head has like 6 hit points, and if you a sword will do a D8 damage, and if it hits you in the head, you're just gonna die.
You're
just
dead.
dead. You're just dead.
This is also good.
Yeah, so I have that. I have the Symbaroum, like the D6 version, and also the more recent one that just came out, which is Legends of Symbaroum, set for D&D. That's something I might like to run because it has a really great procedural system for generating adventure sites. It's amazing.
Yeah, the art's really cool. They're actually what I might get. I saw it on Free League's website.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was on Modifius Republic. Modifius? No, it's Free League. They nice. They have just the art, because the art is so good in this, and there's something nice about obviously a diverse group of artists is also good, but as a novel, it is nice to have something with like one artistic vision where it's all the same artist that does like all the art.
Familiarity,
and there is an art book for it. It's a big appeal for me. It's so Symbaroum, if people want to play, it's basically dark, very dark fantasy.
The same company makes Forbidden Lands, which is very, very OGL. What did you think of that, Juan? No, you didn't play in that. Shit, it was because you were
Forbidden Lands.
Okay, because you were the one that was missing the session, and so we played this with the group. I think Deranged Rhino is still there. I'm just interested to know what people thought, because I kind of ran a quick pickup version of this to see if it's fun, because the dice system is very much you roll a bunch of dice and you're trying to roll 6s. If you don't roll any 6s, you fail. And then if you don't succeed, you can push your die roll, but then you hurt yourself or you damage your equipment. And it looks really good on paper, but it's like, is it fun? And so we played it, and as a DM, I had so much fun because players are just pushing their die rolls, and I was like, I'm wondering if they had fun. And this also has really, really great procedural dice rolling for setting up adventure sites and villages and NPCs. Anyway, it's just a really, really interesting game, and it has Roll20 support. That's another thing I might find fun to run in in a streamed game as well.
Yeah, especially if we're doing the much shorter. And actually, shorter games is a.
This would be a short. You'd have to make backup characters because it's
it's a good excuse for other systems,
Backup characters, you say?
Backup into my.
I've played a couple, actually, interestingly enough, before really getting in the thick of D&D. The first system that I ever played in was Cypher. I knew nothing about tabletop RPGs. I was just a total noob. Didn't know how to roleplay. Was still very much in my dissociating era. Had loose ideas for characters, but just wanted to do something that I found interesting enough to motivate me to invite people over to my home, because I had a place where people could play, but did not have any knowledge or wherewithal. So it was kind of a reverse party formation situation. And the DM couldn't drive, so I was the one going and picking him up. It was very strange, but because in my experience in a lot of the games I've played since, the game master happens to be somebody who is by terms of life and qualifications to run anything.
So did you drive your DM then?
I had to. And then I dropped him back off at his place. Like I said, very, very weird. Inconvenient, but fun. and so Cypher was the first system I learned, and I actually want to reread the rule book and just sort of the game guide, because I found character creation so interesting. It was fun, and also very convenient, very easy. And whatever thoughts, feelings, or opinions people have about like the feat system or about Pathfinder, it was kind of interesting to have a
Or
trait.
you were playing the
trait-
cipher. You were playing the
Yeah.
cipher system, or
Yeah.
that's the you roll a d20 and you have to exceed a target number based on the level of the monster times 3. That's the or you're talking about Pathfinder.
No, I'm talking about Cipher, which was like we only used a D. Wait, maybe we used D20. I cannot remember. And to be fair, we could have been playing a modified version because
That was Numenera. That was Numenera that you were playing.
I could not tell you.
Okay, you know what?
That I was
sorry.
reading from did say Cipher. That's all I know.
So I think before the current Cipher system, there was another one which was D6s. You rolled pools of D6s, and that's the old Star Wars RPG had that, which was actually pretty great for doing that. So yeah. So sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah.
You're fine. No harm done. It was a lot of fun because like nobody was creating a character that came from the same setting. It was absolute bananas, and retrospectively could not have gone any longer than it did because there really was no through line, and that was kind of fun in and of itself. But then early in the pandemic, we started a campaign, a different group of friends in it's Apocalypse Engine, not Age of Apocalypse, Apocalypse Engine, Uncharted Worlds, the first iteration of that setting and system. I loved it. It's sci-fi, and the character creation system is interesting because it's sort of profession based, and there are skills, and there are like but it's almost explicitly narrative. They're still rolling, but it's not. It's not like take 3 points of damage, and then there's resistance, and you have a reaction. It's from what I remember of it, and that's actually something I'd like to reread again. And I play with a group like this just because everyone here is so creative, and I think would make a great collaborative storytelling space.
Yeah, no, that'd be
great. Yeah. I mean, from my side, the only other system I've really touched is, Pathfinder. Mm-hmm. So, and Ben, something that you said is the exact reason why I love Pathfinder is because in D&D you feel like you're the hero. You are the strongest. In Pathfinder, I'm sorry, you don't get that feeling. Pathfinder, mm-hmm. It's a fight for survival from level 1 up until level 20. There's no two ways about it. Things are a lot stronger than you are at any level. I think so much more of an option.
I mean, personally, I would enjoy that, and I'm interested to see like a lot of things that as much as I love D&D, things that I've been hearing. I feel like there is a little bit more of a surge lately where even more people are discovering Pathfinder 2nd Edition. One of the last things I wanted to run on stream, and I actually I've wanted to play it for a while. I haven't delved too deeply into it, but I saw this game. I found it from a Reddit post actually, but Modifius published it. But it's Legends of Avalon. It says inspired by Celtic mythology in Rome and Britain, but the creator had said it's more or less Welsh mythology. There's really nice art in it, but it was a really interesting Reddit post from the creator, who I think he's a physicist, but he'd said, he didn't have any TTRPG experience, and 4 years ago he had no experience, and now it's getting published by Modifius, who published like the Fallout RPG, the Star Trek RPG, the Dune RPG, a bunch of stuff. But it's you play with playing cards instead of dice, which is, I know there are other systems that do that, but I've been wanting to play a game that uses like a deck of cards instead of a pool of dice. But on Reddit, because I remember I spoke to the guy who makes it, and I wanted to get him on stream to kind of to play the game, but I just haven't had time to like really read the rules enough to run a game, But it seems really interesting. But yeah, I want to play a card based system. I want to feel like Yugi.
And then speaking of Pathfinder, apparently sometime soon, then they're going to be releasing the psychic class.
This is the Iron Mind. I need psionics. This is why I want to play I want to run a Dark Sun game more than anything.
Finally releasing the official psychic class. I can't wait for that to come out. I've sent you my version of their playtest version of the Psychic.
Which is
Can't
very
wait
good.
for that one to come out. I already told my my Pathfinder GM, if you ever feel like killing my character off, just wait another month or so, just so that the Psychic can come out, so that I can create my new character.
Yeah, I'm doing the. Yeah, I'm doing the. I mean, it's fine for what it is, but the Iron Mind in the Candlekeep game is. I'm gonna play the Psi Warrior, the Psionic Fighter subclass, which is the closest I can get.
So much fun.
Yeah, but it's the closest I can get in D&D 5e. But a Psychic Warrior is a few things I like the idea of more.
Yeah, in Dave's other one shot that's now a 3-shot. My half orc fighter is a Psi Warrior as well, and you can deal out some decent damage with that guy. I mean, you're supposed to do decent damage, but with the Psi Warrior on top of that,
but
and then all the orc feats that you get, savage attacks and all those things.
Because that's what I did with the Iron Mind was, I wanted to make him human anyway, but I was like, he needs to have a little bit of psionics, so sort of, even at level 1, because he's not going to get the subclass till 3. So I gave him Magic Initiate, and so he had Magic Missile and Mind Sliver. I wanted to give him some sort of
I actually did look at the saying they don't sleep on the Thaumaturge class as well. We actually
Icarus Games on Anto from Icarus Games was talking about that recently. It looks unreal.
So I mean, we basically it's one of my home Pathfinder game that I play in. We basically play tested the Psychic and the Thaumaturge class. I mean, the Thaumaturge class is good. Don't get me wrong, but it's not for me. It's not my style of play.
Yeah, I kind of felt that. I was in concept. I was like, this sounds really cool. It's not going to be my. I mean, when there's a Psychic out there, I'm grabbing that first. For sure. But
I also mentioned, I think during my last game, that another game that I would like to run would be just kind of like Sleeping City in the Dimension 20 game, which would be sort of modern day in a big city, and it's what is that the genre of fantasy? Urban fantasy. Where you are D&D characters, and basically you heal your injuries overnight. And you make it a superhero game. And if you want to be a fighter, you're a fighter, man. You could like punch through doors, and you could get shot and not die. Like, that's D&D characters don't die when you shoot them. And then you're surrounded by regular people, and then all the bad guys, the villains, would be also superior villains or whatever.
I kind of really like it a lot, because there's something really captivating about that concept. And also, even in a non superhero setting, if you're still keeping it in low or high fantasy, medieval-esque, the entire urban bounty hunter background is kind of, I always found that really, really interesting as a background trait, just because it's not great for maybe traveling campaigns, but if you do a campaign that's set in this metropolis, that's really fascinating.
Oh yeah, you do Dragon Heist. It's I think
it could be. You could be there's a guild in the city or something that's focused on in-city quests.
And another way to start a game like that would be to run a few sessions of Microscope. So Microscope is a role-playing game that you can buy on DriveThruRPG, and it's a game that sets up timelines. So imagine the backstory of Lord of the Rings, which is thousands of years of the first age, the second age, the third age. Imagine if you had a bunch of people around the table with index cards, and you're like, the first index card is the world is created, and then the last index card is the ring. The ring goes into Mount Doom, and then the players go around, take turns writing on index cards. Numenor falls. The ring fall. And you build the timeline that way, and so everybody participates, and so you could create a city. And you can zoom in to make smaller areas, so you could create the world that we would be playing in. Everybody's invested, and then so that's our session 0. We create the world. You also create all the rules, right? Because there's a part of the game, and this is a game called Microscope. It's very cool. where you basically say what exists and what doesn't exist in the world. So if you know, sort of like there are no vampires in this world. Okay, no vampires, but there are, you know, psychic vampires that aren't undead. Okay, you know, like it's so if somebody wants to explore something, they can put it in there. And if somebody just, I don't like spiders, I don't like clowns, whatever, you know,
There are
I
no
put all
mind
this stuff.
flayers, but there is femboy hooters.
Ask them for milk. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So there you go. There's my pitch for the next game. We run an urban fantasy game.
Oh, some
And
collective world
but
building.
you're all animals. No.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
honestly,
Call
it
of
could
Cthulhu
be,
with woodland critters.
we could do this microscope thing, and I mean obviously we were conquering like some of the Humblewood stuff, and we did it if we stayed in Humblewood setting, but like it could be about Alderheart, because we haven't really, I mean, not, I don't know what you're planning next, but we haven't spent a ton of time really examining what is Alderheart as a city. We've made allusions to
Absolutely, we have not. And the game doesn't really have a lot of fleshing out of Alderheart either. There's really
well, there
not
we
very
go,
much.
or feathering out for that matter.
Yes, or clawing. Yeah.
Or fluffing.
Yeah,
Never
yeah.
mind.
I'm trying to find my copy of Microscope, and it's in here somewhere. I can't find it. So,
but yeah, I mean, urban Humblewood, even, you know, if it was more of an older heart based game, you know, because urban games can be. I mean, all games are, but urban games, it can be like something like Waterdeep as a city is very interesting as a level 1 character, where it's like you're on the streets and maybe you get attacked in an alleyway by a couple of Zentarim, you know, thugs, like, or you do a small job for a guild. Or it's interesting if you're 17th level and it's like you're doing something for the, you know, the open lord or one of the masked lords, and you're dealing with the most powerful people in the city are, you know, 18th, 19th, 20th level PCs, you know, wizards and, you know, legendary fighters, and you know, there's stuff to do at all level. Like there is, I think it's mentioned in Dungeon of the Mad Mage, the follow on, but underneath Waterdeep there is like a really powerful vampire who the open lords, like the masked lords of Waterdeep, are aware of his presence, and they basically just kind of have a truce with him. Like, fine, you can stay here, don't be too obvious. You keep any other vampires out of Waterdeep. You know, this is your turf, you can have it, but stick to the catacombs. Don't try and rise up and overthrow us, or there's going to be war. You know, so it's like no one knows anything about this, but it's like maybe, hey, when you get to 17th level, it's like, okay, so look, we'll level with you. There's a super powerful vampire lord that's been living in Waterdeep for hundreds of years.
He's one of the lords of Waterdeep. He's passing for human. You know, like that's
exactly. It's like becoming the president, and they tell you like, right, so aliens are real, right, and also, you know,
it's very much the teaser for Castlevania. Like, oh yeah, I'm just got frozen by the Cyclops, looking for the Alucard. He's not real. Like, you know, how long have you been down here? I don't know, like a year. Like,
yeah, but for sure.
All right. Well, I don't know. I feel like we've talked now for like a few hours, and so what do we make of all this? My game is rushing headlong towards the end. It's going to be over in like 6 months. 6 months of bi-weekly games, as long as COVID doesn't kill all of us. And afterwards, what am I gonna do? I want to keep running. I think I like my time slot. I'd like to run a weekly game, but I feel like it would just be too hard for me to do. So bi-weekly does, like I said, does make it easier for me to prep. And so definitely bi-weekly, you want to have a shorter campaign, just because you don't want to be running a game for 2 years, because people don't want to start watching it, right? Because it's too far along. Anyway, so so who knows what I'm going to run next? But we have some ideas, you know. Like I think a Unsleeping City kind of game would be fun. Trying a different system could be fun, you know. Like
that's the other one I'd like to try. Something like Vampire the Masquerade or something like that could also be fun.
Oh yeah, the old D10 system.
Still never played that, or Shadowrun, or you know.
Oh god, I played. Who was asking in chat what games I played? I played the hell out of Cyberpunk. Oh my god, we played Cyberpunk.
That'd be great.
Yeah, and I said it in an alternate Canada where like Rogers was like the evil corporation. Rogers is a corporation now that runs half of Canada's wireless, and their system went down last week, and all of Canada was paralyzed because of it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, cyberpunk. Robot dogs are scary, man. I'll tell you that much.
So what are
Especially
they?
if you're
Are they
a
the
robot
Canadian
mailman.
version of ISCOM?
Yeah, I don't know what that
Which
is, but
which is our power utility.
yeah. So Rogers has cable, as a cable TV company. They also run about half of Canada's telecoms. Bell Canada, runs the infrastructure, but they had to. But Rogers is on a separate infrastructure within the same country. Anyway, it's just crazy. There's some big monopolies in Canada in terms of telecom, and we like in Canada we pay among the highest rates in the world for our wireless. So. For our home internet and for our wireless telephones and stuff.
Yeah. I was about to say something really depressing, but I think we'll leave on a not so depressing note.
Yeah, so get in the chat, man. Let us know what games you think we should be running after we do Humblewood. So
yeah. Well, come join us on the Discord. You can continue the conversation there.
Yeah.
Join the Discord. You can also. So my Humblewood game, all episodes are up on YouTube, on Penny Dragon's YouTube. Just find the Mystery in the Churn. I think there's 26 episodes. They're amazing to watch, obviously, and listen to. If you don't like raunchy jokes, there's something wrong with you, and you shouldn't watch it. So, or if you don't like people that are very immature, but I think having a good time,
Definitely.
Yeah. Ben's game is also on there. Joan's game is also on there. Andrew has no game, so yeah.
I have no game.
Yeah. All right, so there you go. So thanks guys. So I'm sorry that half of our crew was knocked down by deadly preventable diseases, but it's the world that we live in.
It was good to just talk shit for a while.
Yeah, much love to everyone who shared questions. It's been really nice just to kind of engage people in this way, and hope you all have a lovely weekend.
Yeah, enjoy the weekend.
Can't say better than that.
We're going to wait for Christian to